Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your 2014 awards.
Guys, what is going on? John, aka Vocal Aggression here. Man, was it difficult to assemble these awards, but I'm very excited for the discussion that I'm sure will ensue for both of our picks, Ashton.
We have the exact same 50 awards as last year, all the same categories, just different choices.
Absolutely. So, with that, do you want to just get right into it?
I do. Do you want to go in exact order from top to bottom of our lists?
That's what I thought we were going to do, so that sounds
All
good to
right.
me.
Well, we always start TWitWoW with our hate of the night. So we're going to continue the trend of doing negative crap first to get it out of the way to move on to the stuff that we really want to talk about. And we're going to start with the worst match of the year.
Yeah, my pick was Batista versus Alberto Del Rio from Elimination Chamber 2014.
Wow, you really dug into the annals of history.
Yeah, I really tried to for a lot of these picks to let everybody know because I really didn't want to suffer from recency bias if I could help it. And believe me, that was more difficult than it sounds. So, yeah, this match was awful. In fact, I have to be honest, somebody actually reminded me of this match. Everybody knows I read certain columnists, and then they reminded me of this match, and I thought back to it, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? This match really was bad. And so I echo their
Wasn't this up
sentiments.
at a point when people were actually cheering for Del Rio even though he was supposed to be the heel?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, people were cheering for Del Rio. Batista seemed to be gassed out like very early on in the matchup.
Yep.
It was slow, it was boring, just absolutely horrendous. I did not care for this match at all. Which is funny because you know how you and I would grow to love Batista as soon as he would turn heel and do his heel work,
Right.
but this was when he was still trying to make a babyface work, and just the whole program was stupid.
Yeah.
So, so, unless you have any remarks that you want to make about my pick, I am really excited to hear yours.
Well, I went for what I thought was not necessarily the worst match that could have been good, but just straight up the worst match. Because I think that you and I can both agree that Batista versus Del Rio could have been good. It seemed like it might have been good on paper. It just ended up not delivering. But I don't
Exactly.
think anybody expected El Torito versus Minigator to be good. And as a matter of fact, it was so bad that it drew This Is Stupid chants, and that affected the WWE so much that neither Torito nor Mitigator have been, or Hornswoggle in any way, shape, or form, has been on WWE TV since.
Yeah, it was really bad. I completely agree. Anytime that a match can get a crowd to chant "This is stupid," I
Yeah.
mean, you know the material that you're putting forth is offensive. I think that's an excellent pick, and really, it's one that there's not really much I can say because it speaks for itself with how horrendous it is. So,
Yeah.
good stuff.
All right, up next, let's do our worst storyline of the year. There were way too many contenders for this, but I personally narrowed it down to two, and my choice was kind of between two. But John, I want to know what yours was.
See, and then already, like right out of the gate, when I was assembling my list, this was one where I did have some difficulty. Ultimately, though, I decided on the Usos versus the Wyatt family.
Oh
I did.
wow, was that even really a storyline? As much as it was just these guys have the titles and these guys want them.
Well, see, like, yeah, I felt like it was a storyline in the most basic sense of these guys are champions. We want to be champions. Let's hunt them down.
Maybe we
And
should have had a separate category, worst feud of the year.
see, and that definitely would have fit this worst storyline. God, I'm not really sure. So I just pegged this because I really felt like this storyline, along with what Bray Wyatt was doing at the time, which we'll get into that a little bit later, really lowered the stock of the Wyatt family as a whole. And I just didn't really like how it panned out for the Wyatt family. And to
Well, I
me,
mean, between that and Bray Wyatt losing to Chris Jericho as many times as he did.
yeah, I know, right? Just ridiculous. But yeah, not really much to say here. I just was not a fan of their work at all. And really, yeah, you're right. It was such a basic story coming from, half of the characters in this have that intrigue and dimension going into it, being the Wyatt family, being those creepy, eerie characters, that it really could have propelled the Usos. Hell, it could have propelled both teams, but I feel like just the whole thing fell flat for me. So, what was your pick?
Well, again, I narrowed it down to two choices, and the runner up for me was Bella versus Bella,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
because
God.
this whole thing had so much potential to be great because it all started as Brie Bella versus Stephanie McMahon. And it could have been great if Brie Bella would have been able to hold her own on the mic and or in the ring. And it ended up that not only did Brie Bella not get her comeuppance against Stephanie McMahon, but then her sister turned heel on her, and they proceeded to feud with absolutely horrible spotlights and promos and everything from week to week to week to week, and they got more promo time than anyone ever should give them. And then at the end of the day, Brie Bella proceeded to yet again not get her comeuppance on Nikki Bella. So Brie Bella is the. I don't think we have an actual category for worst face of the year, but if we did, it would be Brie Bella.
Yeah, Brie Bella was just
Actually,
absolutely.
we do have one. We do have a category for worst face of the year, but I still have a better option than Brie Bella, so I'm not going to say it's her. But still, Brie Bella has had the worst written babyface storylines of the year. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, her feud with Nikki, I did not care for it at all. It was stupid, and I actually, when we get to future awards, believe me, this will come back. Trust me on that. It was
Right.
just so bad.
Yeah,
So
and
I
and
really like this pick from you here.
well, no, that was my runner up.
Oh, you're a runner. Oh God, then I can only imagine what won.
My worst
Jesus.
storyline of the year for 2014 was the return of the Demon Kane.
Oh God.
Back in May, right after Daniel Bryan had won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, all of a sudden now Kane put the mask back on and decided to go full on B horror movie and stalk Bryan and his wife. And it absolutely killed most of Bryan's momentum. And while I will say that the match that we had between Bryan and Kane at Extreme Rules was pretty decent, I'll also say that it doesn't really matter because Bryan can put on a decent match with just about anybody, and Kane did all that he could, everything in his power to ruin Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, it was so cheesy, that slasher flick type feel, which Daniel Bryan's title reign did not need
To
at
me,
all.
the iconic, and when I say iconic, I do mean it in a negative connotation this time. The iconic moment from this storyline was Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella in the car getting ready to drive off. And then Stephanie McMahon knocks on the window and they freak out. Oh my God. And she goes, Sorry, I've always been told I have a heavy hand. But Brian, you have a match with the Demon Kane tonight.
Yeah, just ridiculous,
It
man.
was
So
horrible.
over the top, so absurd. And here's the thing. When you get something like you mentioned earlier, El Torito versus Minigator as
Right.
worst match of the year, you know from the jump that that's going to be a stinker and stuff like that. But I think when you have something that involves legitimately great performers, in a sense, in certain veins, that's when something like this becomes genuinely offensive because
Yeah.
you know they're better than this.
Yep.
So yeah, great choice.
Yeah. And yeah, that just was bad. So let's move on. The worst pay per view of the year.
This was my first category where I suffered from recency bias, TLC 2014. Um, I picked this because I think why I picked this. We had read the reports that, the main roster, they were all fired up. They saw NXT TakeOver, our Evolution, and they weren't going to be outshined. And you actually had the soundbite of live reactions, Ash, and I think that actually prompted me to pick this pay per view because you said, this show terrifies me because I'm supposed to believe this is WWE when they're actually trying.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this show so bad. Because if that's the truth, then my God, I don't think we realized how good we had it when they were apathetic. Just a really. I mean, you had a stairs match, which kudos to Rowan and Big Show to a degree for trying to work with the stipulation, but it just sounded stupid from the get go, and I know a lot of people crapped on that. The Luke Harper versus Dolph Ziggler ladder match was very controversial. I mean, your sentiments were quite contrary, I think, to most, but I could certainly see where you were coming from. It just seemed like a spot fest for the sake of having a spot fest, not telling an actual story with ladders as merely a prop.
Right.
The tables match. I'll even save my remarks for that for later. I mean, the only save of that pay per view was the main event, which ironically enough, they always say should be the best match of the show. So it certainly fit the bill here. But man, did it have a lot of crap to swim through, and try and redeem itself. It had a lot on its shoulders going into it, and yeah, this is just not a good show at all, especially when compared to NXT Takeover Our Evolution.
Yeah, I think that if I had to rank the pay-per-views, TLC would probably be in my bottom three. But then, to me, the two shows that were worse, the number two show would have been Night of Champions.
Right.
If for no other reason, just because they humanized Brock Lesnar, and that's just a horrible thing to do. But then, to me, the worst pay-per-view of the year, and what's winning my TWitWoW award this year, is, get ready for this, John. Listen to this card, and you tell me if you think that there's anything that happened worse this year than this. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Adam Rose defeat with Layla and Summer Rae defeats Fandango in a minute and 19 seconds.
Okay.
Cameron defeated Naomi in 3 minutes and 18 seconds. The Usos defeated the Wyatt family, one of the matches as a part of your worst storyline of the year. AJ over Paige, Rusev over Swagger by countout, Seth Rollins over Dean Ambrose by forfeit because Ambrose didn't show up, Chris Jericho over Bray Wyatt, The Miz winning a battle royal, last eliminating Dolph Ziggler, and LOL Cena wins, defeating Randy Orton, Kane, and Roman Reigns at the same time.
Battleground 2014, huh?
The worst pay-per-view of the year, and really, I'm going to go as far as to say, by far.
Yeah, I can totally understand where you're coming from. Actually, it's so funny because for my worst match of the year before I picked Batista and Del Rio, Bray Wyatt and Chris Jericho was my recipient because it didn't make sense to me at all that Chris Jericho went over in that match, and for the record, it still doesn't.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, that's what gave it away. That it was Battleground was that match. I'm like, oh, that's it, because I was trying to think when did these matches take place, and yeah, dude, that card was horrendous, mainly for their outcomes. You know, it's just wow, so bad. So I think that's an excellent pick. I
All
love,
right.
yeah.
Up next, our worst superstar of the year. Now, you can interpret this many ways. You could say the person who is the least entertaining, the person who lost the most momentum, the person who most people give the least about. There are many ways of interpreting this, John. Since you've been going first on all of these so far, I'm going to take my turn, and I'm going to say it
Okay.
first. My worst superstar of the year 2014 was Kane because nobody cares anymore. And the only reason that I gave it to Kane is because he's been featured more prominently this year than the Big Show, who would have easily won it had it not been for what I just said.
Yeah, excellent pick. I've really been agreeing with your sentiments on Kane when we discuss him in commentaries or live reactions, so that pick makes perfect sense. I'll just go ahead and say right now, my worst superstar of the year was Bull Dempsey. Uh, just,
Wow. Does it
just
really count when they debut in the year, though? I don't know.
I mean, to me, because NXT's been catching fire, and I think it's
Yeah.
getting more eyes lately, I decided that it was okay. In fact, you're going to see NXT, I
Yeah.
think, featured quite a bit in my personal list.
Oh, dude, it's not even just going to be NXT. There's going to be some completely non WWE related brands happening in, I don't know about yours, but at least in my list.
Yeah, I know at least for one category I have a non WWE thing, but NXT is really representing on my list in a lot of good ways and some bad ways. And yeah, Bull Dempsey is one of the bad ways. I mean, here is a guy that, I think WWE wanted to groom to be like this monster type character, this real legitimate threat. He calls himself the last of a dying breed. And it seemed like when he first came in, he was going to be quickly hotshotted to NXT Championship contendership, but he just really doesn't have the personality to go with the look. And to be honest, his look isn't even really that unique. And now that Baron Corbin's come through the door, I mean, why is Bull Dempsey even still a thing? I mean, I'm excited
Well,
for
and
their.
not even just Baron Corbin, Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is another guy who, I mean, one of the big caveats to Bull Dempsey is that he's fat, he's overweight, he's not in wrestling shape, and that's not necessarily the kind of thing that you're going to want to see multiple times on a card. So the fact that Kevin Steen is also not in great wrestling shape, and I wouldn't go as far as to call him fat, although at one point I would have said he was, but now he's gotten himself into at least decent shape. He's still kind of fills that overweight killer role way better than Bull Dempsey could ever hope to.
Absolutely. I mean, so yeah, you take those two guys, especially Kevin Owens, given your points. There's no need for Bull Dempsey. He's been rendered obsolete. And I know that sounds,
Exactly.
yeah,
I love that you use that term.
yeah, and that's why he's my worst superstar of the year because nothing is worse than being put in a place of obsolescence.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. All right. Next was the worst promo of the year. Now, I'm sure that there are multiple examples where it was just some random crappy indie fed that got held in a high school gym and somebody cut a terrible promo. We're not surprised by that. We're talking about on the big stage, though. Worst promo of the year.
Okay, mine. Nikki Bella tells Brie she should have died in the womb.
Hey, we have our first unanimous vote.
Wow, really?
Yes,
Okay, yeah, this was horrible.
the worst.
Oh my god. And see, here's why it's horrible, right? Because me and Ashton, if you remember the TWitWoW review that followed this, we did have a lot of fun like laughing at this promo and it was great comedic material.
But
But
the crazy thing is, it wasn't meant to be comedy. They were trying to take it seriously.
it wasn't meant to be comedy. It was meant to be taken seriously, and this was coming off of the heels of a pretty big when it involved Stephanie McMahon women's angle, and
Yeah.
they wanted to transition that kind of
And
momentum to Nikki and Brie.
you go from Stephanie McMahon cutting promos talking about how Brie Bella is like this trailer trash who is super selfish and doesn't care about anyone but herself, and now Nikki Bella says, I wish you would have died in the womb."
Exactly. It's just absolutely ridiculous to me that this feud was even given legs to begin with. And I knew it was coming, because whenever you have a commodity like the Bellas, the twins, the sisters, all that stuff, you know that they're going to do this angle down the road.
Can you really
And
call them a commodity though? Doesn't that imply that they're a good thing?
I mean, dude, they're on Total Divas. They do all this media stuff for WWE. So yeah, in WWE's eyes, I'd say that they're a legitimate commodity, at least for the women's division.
You say so.
Uh, I mean, doing all the extracurricular things that they do with WWE, yeah.
I prefer to call them cancers, but that's your call.
Hey, but yeah, this promo was just abominable, and
Well, and hey, dude, we can use this to transition into our next category, which again, because you've been going first for most of these, I'll go first this time to make it an even smoother transition. The worst heel of the year. I have Nikki Bella.
see, I don't, and that's what makes it hilarious. My worst heel of the year. Oh god, this is so funny for so many reasons. I picked Corporate Kane for the
Nice.
exact same reason that you picked him for worst superstar of the year because nobody cares.
You know,
Um,
believe it or not, dude, I was actually thinking about picking Kane. And another name that crossed my mind for worst heel of the year, just taking that at its root definition, I almost said Bray Wyatt because Bray Wyatt is supposed to be this dastardly heel, but he makes it almost impossible to boo him. And that makes him, like I said, in its textbook definition, a bad heel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like that you were contemplating that choice. But yeah, your justification for why Kane was the worst superstar of the year was exactly mine for worst heel of the year because
Because no one cares.
yeah, no one cares about Kane,
Because
and when
it's
nobody
one of those things
cares,
where when somebody beats him, it's Kane. Why does it matter? And if he beats someone, that's it. They're done. They're buried. No one cares about them anymore.
I was so concerned about Ryback when he was feuding with Kane because I felt like, oh my god, him being in
Yeah.
this program with Kane is going to kill all of his momentum. So yeah,
Oh,
easy pick for
if
me.
you really want to go there, Kane killed Adam Rose's momentum.
Yeah, definitely,
Adam Rose was undefeated on the main roster, and then all it took was a choke slam from Kane, and all of a sudden Adam Rose is completely irrelevant.
exactly.
All right. That being said, I think Adam Rose would definitely be at least a nominee or in consideration for this next category, worst face of the year.
See, and I think you're gonna like my pick. At least I hope you do.
Well, I know that I love my pick, so I want to
Do
hear
you want to go
yours
first?
first.
Oh, you want to hear mine first?
We'll just go back and forth now.
My worst face of the year, Jack Swagger.
I'll say is he's
Be,
worthless. The only reason anyone ever cheered for him in the first place was because he was lined up across from Rusev.
yeah, which makes Rusev a phenomenal heel, not Jack Swagger a phenomenal babyface. And that's why he's my worst face of the year. They thought that they could, ride off after he did this program with Rusev and keep it up, and nobody cared after he failed to beat Rusev. Again, you said it best. I think about a lot of your sound bites that I think were very influential in me creating this list. It wasn't about, oh, that person's a great babyface. It's, oh man, maybe this guy can finally beat Rusev. We should just really rally behind him. That's what they're looking for. Not necessarily a great babyface standalone, but just somebody, anybody that could stand up to Rusev. So yeah, that's why Jack Swagger's my worst face of the year, because as soon as he couldn't get the job done, nobody cared.
Absolutely. All right, now my worst babyface of the year is more to do with a show that isn't WWE than it is to do with the WWE.
Okay.
See if you can guess, John. You know this. You know me. Who do I hate more than anyone?
Who do you hate more than anyone?
Who's
Oh,
on a show other than WWE?
oh God. Who do you hate more than anyone? I know this. Oh no, dude, I'm gonna drag on too long.
She's
Who is
the
it?
worst. She's almost literally Hitler.
Oh God, Natalia.
Yes.
Oh yes, yes. Oh man.
Natalia is my worst babyface of the year because she's not a frickin' babyface. And yet the WWE still insists on trying to act like she's this pure, innocent sweetheart when all she really is a passive aggressive douchebag soccer mom from the frickin' Midwest. I don't even buy that
Oh
she's actually
man.
from Canada. I think she's from a suburb in Chicago.
I love it. She's absolutely horrible. Oh man,
The
Natalia, you
worst.
really are the
Let's
worst.
go talk about TJ and how Natalia can let freaking Cameron watch their house over a weekend, and yet she gets on TJ's case for giving some money to his sister to invest in a business.
Or she talks behind TJ's back all the time, and yet one time when he's trying to confide in Naomi and unleash on somebody, because Lord knows he can't talk to his wife. Have you seen her? She's like, "Oh, TJ, why are you doing
And
the
then she
laundry?"
throws his clothing out on the yard.
Listen, TJ, we fully support you if you want to go the divorce route. I'm letting you know. It's
And
a
here's the
legitimate
thing for
option.
those of you right now that are thinking, oh, this guy's ridiculous. Everyone knows Total Divas is scripted. Yeah, I know. Total Divas is scripted, but you know what else is scripted? WWE, and they still insist on trying to make it seem like Natalia is a babyface when she's not,
Yeah, she's
which is
horrible.
why she's the worst face of the year.
Love it.
So, John, this next category, it's slightly out of order, but I wanted to make sure to get to it next because it's part of our worst category rather than the good stuff. So I'm going to say mine first to give you time to find it. The worst finish of the year. And personally, my worst finish of the year is Extreme Rules 2014. Bray Wyatt needs Luke Harper and Eric Rowan's help, and then he's still going to lose to John Cena. But no, a singing child helps Bray Wyatt to win a steel cage match against John Cena. Yet again, though, Wyatt couldn't win by pinfall, he won by escape.
Wow, that's an excellent pick. Yeah, I remember how much you had gripes about that finish. Yeah, that's an excellent choice. Uh,
I
yeah,
think
I,
that
I
you're
think
about to have a worst finish of the year also involving John Cena losing a steel cage match.
Yeah, but I'm just to finish up on yours. I mean, I think that was really a time when Bray Wyatt's momentum was really on the decline.
Yeah,
He didn't look like so much of an indestructible force or a monster or anything like that. He really, much like John Cena did to Brock Lesnar in Night of Champions, really
humanized.
looked human. Yeah, and I hate that crap.
Yep.
Not as much as I hate this though. My worst finish of the year: John Cena versus Seth Rollins table match TLC.
Oh, the
Yes.
tables match. I thought that your problem would be with the steel cage match the night after when Rollins had to win using both of J&J Security, Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman, and then he still couldn't win by pinfall. He had to win by escape, just like what I just did.
Yeah, but you know what? I feel like that match had a better flow. Their chemistry was really on point, and hell, at least Seth Rollins got the win after John Cena earlier in the night said, "Hey, kid, go to the back. The grown-ups are talking. Oh, I hate you so much." Uh, this tables match was overbooked to hell. See,
Yeah,
that's
and remember too, Cena beat Rollins like 3 times before the actual finish.
three times. I think six tables got broken. Roman Reigns, Big Show, everybody and their mother came out to interfere. I'm just like, what is going on? See, that's always the risk with giving matches of this nature, tables matches or ladders matches or the like, is that, it's really hard, I think, to establish a kind of psychology or anything like that to it. but I do believe it can be done, and I believe that it can be done with two workers like this.
Yeah.
And it's just no, let's just have a ridiculous table fest with just everybody coming out. I hated this match really, and that's a shame because these guys I think just a year ago were on our list for best TV match of the year, or one of those things for their SmackDown match.
Yeah.
So yeah, how times change.
Well, now that we've both said our piece on the worst finish of the year, let's talk about the most overrated match of the year. Do you have yours lined up and ready to say, or do you want me to go
Oh
first?
God, I do, but I don't want to.
Do it, do it.
Okay, promise you won't be mad at me, but
Most overrated match of the year. I
most
won't be mad. Go ahead.
most overrated match. I and see the thing. I just want to clarify something.
I'm gonna
I
laugh
like
so hard if you pick my match of the year.
I like this match. I just want to preface it by saying that, but I did pick Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins from Hell in a Cell.
Oh no, I don't have a problem with that at all. I agree with
Oh,
you actually.
oh good, good. Because I'm worried
How
at the
can
generation.
you praise that match when the first like 10 minutes were, again, like you said about the Cena Rollins match, overbooked to hell, overdone, I guess you could say, like to the point that it seemed like they were trying to do too much. And it really just kind of killed the momentum with the freaking stretcher spot. And then, of course, the finish was terrible. Yeah, I totally see where you're coming from, dude.
Yeah, see, and I think for me, even if you want to go outside the men's stuff, what's so disappointing about this, and what I think made a lot of people love it, and I can understand that, but the table was set where this stipulation actually made so much sense,
And it
and
did not deliver at all.
it did not deliver, which is such a shame because you really don't see that anymore. I was looking for these guys to at least match the bar that Edge and Undertaker set with their
And
Hell
you
in
know
a
what I
Cell
think
match.
frustrates me most about this
What's that?
is that people based exclusively on who was in the match
Yeah.
still gave it way more credit than it deserved just because, oh, it was Dean Ambrose and he beat the crap out of Seth Rollins. Well, yeah, but the match was so broken up, there was no flow whatsoever, the finish blew. How are you going to give this match credit?
Yeah, and see, that was my problem. I think a lot of people, and I say this in the nicest way possible, had blinders on because it was Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. They
Yeah.
probably romanticized it because it's two
And
guys who are amazing.
the hilariously ironic thing about this is my underrated match of the year clashed with your overrated match of the year. Meaning they're not the same thing, but there was a little controversy surrounding the two matches, and we'll talk about that later.
Oh yeah, interesting. But yeah, that's my overrated match of the year. I'm so glad I avoided the landmines there because yeah, I like this match. I did. I
What
didn't
did you
hate it
think
by
that
any
I would
means.
pull a Seth Rollins and be like, "What?"
Yeah, that would have been hilarious. Oh my god. But what's your overrated match of the year?
My over and again, I think that you and I are going about this in very different ways, and I think that makes it interesting because we aren't necessarily wrong. We just have different interpretations of the category. Yours was what match was overrated by the wrestling public.
Yeah.
Mine was what match was overrated by the WWE.
Oh.
And that, to me, is the Survivor Series match, Team Cena versus Team Authority, because the match itself was not that great beyond Dolph Ziggler kicking out of everything. But at the end of the day, for them to try and say that that was the match of the year is absolutely ludicrous, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. I feel like
I think
really,
that that match gets the credit that it gets based exclusively on Sting's return. And I don't think that you should include a return like that as a qualification to say that the match was good when the only real thing that it happened had anything to do with the match was the finish, and that's it.
yeah, I think this match is only really known for two things, and that's Sting's debut and Dolph's performance when it came down 1-3. But that's 1-3. You have to understand, this Survivor match is 5-on-5,
Well, yeah, and
and
and to go even further, now that we have the knowledge that we have from this most recent Raw, not only did this match not necessarily end up, it wasn't as good as the WWE tries to claim it was, but on top of that, now as it turns out, there were no consequences whatsoever.
yeah, I mean, Dolph Ziggler. I don't know if you saw the Raw Fallout video from this past Raw, but Dolph Ziggler even came out and said it like everything we did meant absolutely nothing now,
Yep.
and yeah, so that's all you need to know. Great pick.
All right, and you know what, dude? Again, I'm going to go a little bit out of order here, so I just want you to make sure that you can find yours. And since we were already kind of talking about it, I'm going to go right into it. Underrated match of the year, And the reason that I said that our your overrated and my underrated matches of the year clashed a little bit, your overrated match of the year was the main event of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. My underrated match of the year was the match that nobody wanted to main event that show, but still probably should have in hindsight. John Cena versus Randy Orton's Hell in a Cell match.
Oh yeah,
It was
definitely.
so freaking good and so underrated. People did not give it credit because of the fact that it was John Cena versus Randy Orton for the umpteenth time. People didn't give it enough credit because of the fact that it was on the same card, that people were busy giving too much credit to Rollins Ambrose. And I think that this match, like, people would have raged over it. Or, I mean, there were some people that would have just been like, oh, well, same old crap, no big deal. That probably would have been us. But at the end of the day, this was the better match between the two Hell in a Cell matches, regardless of the fact that it didn't have as much of a build up and as good of a story. This was still the better Hell in a Cell match between the two, in my opinion.
And you know what's so crazy about this match is I feel like looking back, and if I remember our live reactions correctly, I felt like I had a greater emotional investment in this Hell in a Cell match than I did Rollins
Because we
Ambrose.
wanted Orton to win so friggin' bad.
Yeah, because we wanted the dream match of Orton Lesnar, which they just shot mercilessly and emptied an entire clip in it, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, and hey, I still have hope. If Lesnar wins the title, retains the title at Rumble, I'm going to root for Orton to win Rumble.
Yeah, you know what? I was just thinking that as you were explaining your pick, and I'm like, wait a minute, we still have one more bullet in the chamber. So
Yeah.
just keeping that in the back of my mind. But dude, I love your pick because, like you said, it was the perfect storm of I think people romanticizing Rollins and Ambrose getting the main event, being so utterly tired and just drained of Orton Cena that they didn't think that they could do anything exciting again or
Right.
fresh again. And, you know, this match had some great moments, one of which was Orton catching a Cena shoulder block into an RKO.
That was that honestly, dude, that might have been my favorite spot of the entire year.
Yeah, just absolutely
Nobody, I mean,
fantastic.
people have reversed Cena's five moves of doom before, but nobody has ever done it as early as the shoulder blocks.
Yeah, exactly. And Orton
And
just
Orton didn't even just stop the shoulder blocks. He could have ended the match on that. I mean, obviously they weren't going to because it was the first RKO of the match, and John Cena never loses to one RKO. But still,
exactly. So yeah, great pick, dude. Love it.
what was your underrated match of the year?
That's right. I went to Obscure Town for this one.
Yeah, you did.
My underrated match of the year. Get ready to raise some eyebrows, folks. The Usos versus Los Matadores for the WWE Tag Team titles on the March 4th, 2014 episode of Main Event. Yeah. Uh,
Now, see, my thing is, I personally refuse to acknowledge that the Usos are capable of putting on an underrated match because the Usos are, for some reason or another, beloved by the internet, and they will praise, or at least at that point they were. Now people are getting sick of them, but for the most part, the Usos are one of those teams where everyone's just like, "Oh, it's about time they're finally the tag team champions" and all that crap. And here I am, just sitting on my hands, trying to figure out what everyone sees in these scrubs.
and see, while I agree with everything you just said, that's where Los Matadores enter the equation.
Yeah, and
Because I,
that's another thing that I will say too is the Los Matadores. Uh, I would say they're underrated because they, even though they don't get booked very well, they do stuff in that ring that nobody else in the freaking world does.
And this match showcased that very sentiment. This match, why I picked it, was it seemed like Los Matadores had returned to form. It was almost like, even though I know it's weird to say that because that's who they are, just a different
Prepico.
banner. Yeah, Prepico. It's like we were seeing Prepico versus the Usos, and it was fantastic. Some great high flying wrestling, some great aerial maneuvering, just all around. It had a nice pace. Tag titles on the line. It had interesting circumstances because they were a stand-in for the New Age Outlaws because the New Age Outlaws were supposed to get their rematch, but I think they did the whole thing where Billy was sick or something or other, so
Oh,
Matador step
that's
in.
right. Yeah,
And
that
and yeah,
angle was so stupid.
yeah, they had a clinic in there. You know, it was
Yeah.
really good. So you had one team that is on everybody's radar, and another team that people know exists, people know they're a thing, but people I don't think know how good they can be if they were treated more seriously. That's why I'm really disheartened when I read a couple months back that Epico and Primo wanted this to be a heel gimmick. They wanted to be heel matadors, really cocky, arrogant, and brash. And WWE said, no, let's put in the kitty factor. Let's make you baby faces. Let's give you a bull mascot. Such a shame. Because they could put on matches like this and really be one of the faces of the tag division. And I am saying that with a straight face because I believe it. So, yeah, that's why this is my underrated match of the year.
Would you go as far as to say that Los Matadores have been, wink wink, underutilized?
Yeah, you could definitely make that case, certainly.
Well, then who was your underutilized talent of the year, John?
Unfortunately, not them.
No, I know. I figured.
My underutilized talent of the year, and you can thank Ash for this as well, because originally my pick was Cesaro, and we kind of had a little debate about that. So then I decided to shift it, and I know he's got problems recently, but that didn't happen until I think a few weeks ago, so I think it still counts. Heath Slater is my underutilized talent of the year, believe it or not.
You know what? I can dig it.
And you know what? I know I feel like I've crapped a lot on Heath Slater in the past, but here's the thing: when he got his victory over Seth Rollins, and then he beat Dolph Ziggler by countout a week afterwards, and he did the whole thing with Slater Gator and Titus O'Neil, which I don't think, again, given Heath Slater's problems, is happening
Dude, you know
anymore.
what the crazy thing about Heath Slater is?
What's that?
He is actually the recipient of 3 of my TWitWoW awards this year, and none of them are negative.
Wow,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Nice. And yeah, you know what? I feel like with Santino, I know he's trying to get back in the ring and they're still using him in kind of a role, but if you really need that comedy style wrestler, I feel like Heath Slater could step into Santino's shoes. And just for me personally, and speaking solely for me, I know he'd do a lot better in them and probably get more laughs out of me than Santino ever did. And yeah, I just hope that if Heath Slater can get through his recent personal endeavors, okay, and he can navigate those waters and he can get back on TV, that he's utilized more in 2015, whether that's Slater Gator becoming a more dominant tag team, because I know Titus O'Neil tonight on Main Event, he said 2015 was going to be his year. If they want to make him a singles comedy act, maybe a semi-serious mid-card act, however you want to use Heath Slater, use him, because I feel like, I mean, hell, even Wade Barrett is high on him, and always speaks out in his defense. So I think there's a real talent there, and I hope we see more of it in 2015.
Yeah, I enjoy a lot of Heath Slater's work. All right. My underutilized talent of the year comes from a place of salt.
Ooh.
My underutilized talent of the year isn't an individual talent. It's a crop of talent, a group of talent.
All right.
My underutilized talent of the year, just in general, is NXT call-ups.
Oh, love it. Best use of a category ever.
I'm talking
Oh,
about Paige. I'm talking about Emma. I'm talking about Bo Dallas. I'm talking about Adam Rose. I think the only NXT call up this year who I can't say was underutilized is Rusev.
yeah. Dude, great pick. I mean, you and I had a really nice discussion about it. I don't think it was this past TWiW. I think it was the TWiW before this past TWiW. And yeah,
Last week's NXT Twitwell.
yeah, that was it. That was it. And yeah, everything I said there, I would re-echo here. Just really a shame where all these talents ended up. And I love how you utilize this category. Excellent pick.
Would you say that I didn't underutilize this category?
Certainly. Absolutely.
All right, I like it. All right, John, we're going to get back and go in order from here on out. Let's just go to our next category in order: Superstar, or should I say Superstar of the Year.
You want me to go first?
If you want. I actually, you know what? You went first last time, so I'm just going to say it, Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn had a phenomenal year this year.
Sami
Uh,
Zayn, actually, if you really want to go there, Sami Zayn had a pretty crappy year this year beyond the fact that he puts on better matches than everyone else right up until December.
Yeah, and you know what though? Like even with his crappy year, I think it was solely for the purpose to tell a grander story for him to just have a
Yep.
phenomenal blow off.
Exactly, which is exactly why he's my superstar of the year, because he spent the first 11 months of this year putting on better matches than anybody else in the company not named Daniel Bryan. And come December, it finally paid off. He lost, I believe he actually lost every single NXT live special match that he was in. up until NXT Takeover Our Evolution. Because at Arrival, didn't he face Tyler Breeze
Yes, that's
and
correct.
lost to him? Who did he face at the first Takeover? Because I don't remember that.
Wasn't it Cesaro?
And he lost to him. No, that was at Takeover, or that was at Arrival. And then the first Takeover, he lost to Breeze. And then at Takeover Fatal 4-Way, he lost the Fatal 4-Way match for the title. So he lost all three of the first three NXT Live specials that he participated in. And then it all culminated with NXT Takeover Our Evolution, him winning the title in what was one of, and I'm not going to say that it was for sure, but it was one of the matches of the year.
Abso-freaking-lutely. Love your pick. Sami Zayn, I can't wait to see him come back and really start this program, presumably with Kevin Owens,
I
given
do
everything that's
believe
happened.
he is going to be on this week's episode of NXT. I could be wrong.
It's going to be amazing. Cut some great promos in that time. The crowd never gave up on him. Just an excellent year. My superstar of the year, this is actually one of the easiest categories for me to do. Seth Rollins is my
Oh,
superstar of the year.
yes. Absolutely.
Such a great year. Whether he was with the Shield and he was running roughshod with them, getting 2 straight victories over Evolution,
Yep.
or whether it was his heel turn, which I think is still talked about and still reverberates with a lot of people. The heel turn would pay off for him because he would associate with Triple H and Stephanie, the Authority, get Money in the Bank, main event pay-per-views with Dean Ambrose. Hell, he main evented Survivor Series even though he was on the losing team. Just recently got the Authority back in power. And that's the thing. Whether Seth Rollins has won matches or lost matches, we have to think about the spots on the card that he's been on, the people he's associated with, and just the things he's done overall. To me, this was Seth Rollins' year, and that's why he's my superstar of the year. Had just a brilliant year.
Absolutely. All right. Up next is pay-per-view of the year. John, do you want to go first on this?
I will. NXT
No, no, no,
Takeover.
no, 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 no. That wasn't a pay-per-view. It was a live special.
Well, then I'd have to go WrestleMania 30 because that was my runner-up.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
we do have another category, non-pay-per-view show of the year, and that's where you would use that one.
okay. Well, then let me switch that out because I picked something else for that because I guess I just conflated the two. But yeah, WrestleMania 30 was my runner-up. Then if I couldn't do NXT Takeover Revolution, I
Okay.
mean the streak ended. Daniel
Yep.
Bryan's road to the championship had a great opener with Triple H, which I wish was talked about a little bit more than the triple threat, because it seems like the triple threat gets more attention. But I feel like Bryan and Triple H had an excellent wrestling match.
Yeah.
John Cena versus Bray Wyatt. While I wasn't necessarily crazy about it, I did love that it seemed like Bray got in Cena's head, and they were trying to tell a story like that. So yeah, just
And
a
then
lot of
Rowan ruined it for everyone.
yeah, and then Rowan ruined it for everybody. Damn you, Rowan. So yeah, it was just absolutely phenomenal. Just a great WrestleMania.
All right. Well, this is my first example of not picking all WWE stuff. My personal pay per view of the year was Ring of Honor War of the Worlds. This
Ah,
show was amazing. This was the show where we got our main event was AJ Styles versus Okada versus Michael Elgin in a triple threat. It was just amazing.
yeah, that was a great matchup. I remember that show. Didn't we get the Young Bucks? Young Bucks versus what was it? Red Dragon.
I think that was yes, yeah. Yeah, it was yeah. But then we also got the decade. It was B.J. Whitmer and Roddy Strong versus Ghetto and Jado.
Yeah, yeah, just an
Dude,
excellent card.
ROH's tag team division has been ridiculous.
Yeah, ROH's tag team division is one of the most
And not only
legit tag
that,
team
but that was
divisions.
also the show that we got Steen versus Nakamura.
Oh man, yeah, yeah, just excellent stuff all around. That's a great choice.
It was an absolutely amazing pay per view. I mean, not only that, we had Adam Cole versus Jushin Thunder Liger,
Adam Cole.
Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Michael Bennett,
That was another great one. Yeah,
Jay Lethal versus one half of the Time Splitters, Kushida.
yeah, we'll be getting to Jay Lethal a little later. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
another good one.
it was just an amazing show. It was actually and it's kind of funny because this was the show that introduced me to Shinsuke Nakamura, who has quickly become my favorite Japanese wrestler in the world.
Yeah,
And this is also the first ROH pay per view that John and I watched this year.
Yeah, so quite a momentous show for a multitude of reasons. I think it's
Yeah.
an excellent choice all around.
All right. Up next, we have our storyline of the year. This ought to be interesting.
My storyline of the year was Daniel Bryan versus the Authority.
All
Uh,
right.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I felt like segments such as Occupy Raw
Yep.
and others just were really quite brilliant. I mean, Daniel Bryan getting screwed over and over again to the point where when he lost at Elimination Chamber, the same show that got my worst match of the year with Batista Del Rio, Cole actually had a nice piece of emotional commentary where he just said, Daniel Bryan gets screwed again. He comes in second again. How much longer are we expected to take any of this? And yeah, just a lot of great moments throughout this whole storyline, and I just really enjoyed it. And Daniel Bryan got his payoff, and it was just an incredible night, that really tied in with WrestleMania. So yeah, Daniel Bryan versus the Authority.
Yeah. I do want to preface this by saying the biggest reason that I didn't choose that same storyline is because last year my storyline of the year also involved Daniel Bryan, and I don't like to be repetitive.
Right.
Because last year my storyline of the year was Daniel Bryan's weak link storyline.
Right.
So this year my storyline of the year was Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins and everything that ensued after and during the breakup of the Shield.
Yeah. It was fantastic television. I mean, I really can't argue that. Everybody loved the Shield. I think everybody is still kind of heartbroken that it's over.
Yeah.
It's just one of those factions that I think impacted everybody. And Seth Rollins really capitalized on it. Dean Ambrose was so emotional. I remember the first promo he cut. When him and Roman Reigns still seemed like they were going to hunt Seth Rollins down together before they ended up going their separate ways. And he just talked about all the things he was going to do to Seth Rollins. He said, there's not going to
Rearranging
be
his face, talking about
yeah,
how
rearranged
your
face.
nose is going to be over here where your ear used to be. And I say it used to be there because now it's going to be over here. And yeah, it was just amazing.
Yeah, amazing stuff. So I'm really glad you picked that because a lot of the content there really was incredible.
And this storyline lasted almost 6 months too, which is pretty long for WWE standards.
Oh yeah, I mean they got a lot of mileage out of this,
Yep.
and I don't even think it's over. I think it'll pick up again before we know it.
It might.
So
It very well could. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, hey, up next we have match of the year. And my match of the year, speaking of the Shield, was the 6-man tag match at Extreme Rules, Shield versus Evolution.
so good,
This was the
so
one where
good.
Rollins jumped off the frickin' balcony.
Yeah, now this wasn't the elimination match, right? This was just the one
Correct.
where oh, it was the elimination match.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
no. It wasn't. I was saying correct that it wasn't.
Oh, okay, it wasn't because yeah, I remember the finish of this. Roman Reigns ended up pinning Batista, which I loved because he finally got comeuppance after being eliminated by Batista at that year's Rumble.
Yep.
Dick. Um, so yeah, it was fantastic. I really love this match. These two teams ended up having great chemistry. It's one of those two team battles that you kind of conjure up in fantasy warfare, and I would like to believe that it delivered. Just really good. So I love your pick.
Absolutely. All right. So, what was your match of the year, John?
I gotta preface this by saying I'm grateful that we did this for the sole reason that I could finally give this match some damn justice, which is, funny because you just gave a Shield match your award. Um, Daniel Bryan versus Bray Wyatt from
From
Royal
the
Rumble
Royal Rumble.
2014.
Yep.
Finally somebody gives it some justice. That match was amazing because the storyline leading up to it left everybody so confused, but it led to I think one of the best pieces of television that same year. Daniel Bryan trapping Bray Wyatt in the steel cage,
Yep.
and the whole crowd went nuts for it. So you had the investment in this match, and it was just a back and forth affair, very physical. One great moment, you see Bray Wyatt powering out of the yes lock and just hammering Bryan with these forearms. He did a vicious senton at one point, I think, to the outside. So this match really saw Bray imposing his will, and it was still at a time when he looked like just an unstoppable force. And I mean, the
This was
moment of
Bray Wyatt's prime to this day.
yeah, it
Because
was
this is before he hit the John Cena ceiling.
exactly. And I mean, the finish was spectacular with him catching Daniel Bryan's suicide dive into his sister Abigail on the security railing,
Yeah, I
and then he
mean, dude, we gave this match so much praise, and I feel like it's still, and I guess this is my way of agreeing with you. It's still, even to this day, does not get enough credit. This was easily, and the only reason I didn't pick this match as my match of the year is because I figured that you would give it its just desserts.
Yeah, and I'm glad you trusted me to do that because I knew one of us would. With how much we praised it during live
Yeah.
reactions, and I
And
remember,
that's another one of
yeah,
those things where like we've been praising it since then, and like even when we reacted to the Slammies, like we didn't even talk about the Slammies, but we went out of our way to say that the Survivor Series match was a farce because it wasn't anywhere near as good as a bunch of other matches, and that our match of the year would have been Brian Rumble.
yeah, I remember. I don't want to say that you and I were like furious or anything because we weren't, but I remember you and I, were kind of miffed that I don't think this match generated as much buzz as we expected it to from the general public.
Yep.
Like left off a lot of awards
Yeah.
lists, left a lot of recognition, and I'm
Yep.
just like, why? So yeah, I'm just
To
really
me,
glad
the
we did
the
this.
top kind of three or four, I should say, the top four matches of the year, and really you could pick these in any order. I don't care which one you prefer out of the four, but to me, the top four matches of the year that really stand out above the rest: Bryan versus Triple H at Mania, Bryan versus Wyatt at Rumble, Shield versus Evolution at Extreme Rules, and Neville versus Zayn at NXT Evolution.
Wow, really awesome. Because you know what I noticed a lot of people picked, dude, was Shield versus Wyatt family elimination chamber. A
See, and
lot,
again,
yeah,
though, as awesome as that was, I don't think that lived up to expectations.
yeah,
That wasn't as
yeah.
good as either one of the Shield Evolution matches, in my opinion.
I would have to agree. It's just funny how you and I think differ quite a bit from the general public. Not that the general public is wrong, it's not what I'm trying to say. It's just
Right.
it's funny how everything ended off because yeah, you and I were so high on this Daniel Bryan Bray Wyatt matchup.
Honestly,
It
dude,
just
I think a
yeah,
lot of it has to do with the fact that you and I don't crap on the so-called Breakfast Club as much as everyone else.
right,
Like you and I love Randy Orton,
right,
and for the longest time we were singing Batista's praises when everyone else was still crapping on him. And you and I both love Triple H, if for no other reason because of what he's done with NXT. And like it's one of those things where those three guys, individually and as a unit, get a lot of hate from the internet wrestling community in general.
right.
So I'm not, and then you compare them to the Wyatt family, who are kind of internet darlings at this point, and it's one of those things where it kind of is. It's more in the namesake than people actually giving credence to the match quality itself.
Exactly. So that's my match of the year, and if you have anything else you want to add on, we can move on.
Promo of the year.
Oh man, so easy for me. Batista leaves Evolution was
It
my
was
promo of the
two
year.
words.
Well, no, actually, before that though, I
Okay.
loved how he would just kind of shoot Triple H looks here and there when he was like, "Our business isn't over with Evolution," blah blah blah, and he would just be like, "Wait a minute," or no, he meant our business isn't over with the Shield, and then Batista would look at him and he'd go, "The Shield? I don't care about the Shield. I'll care about you. I'll care about him. I care about my WWE World Heavyweight Championship match." And they have that debacle, and then yes, the infamous two words of Triple H is like, "Now you listen to me. We are gonna finish this first, and then you will get everything that you were promised. But until then, I don't want to hear it. Do you understand?"
I understand, and I quit.
I, I commend you so much for saying that with a straight face, because
And then
that
the princess wave.
the princess. Here's the thing: it's only gonna be remembered for two words in that wave, but this is the Batista that I wanted ever since he came
Dude,
back.
this Batista was amazing every single week.
Honestly, that's why I didn't want to give him worst anything. But I mean, that match at Del Rio was so bad that I had to because once he turned up the heel factor, he became excellent. I
Yeah.
mean, again, you mentioned those matches against the Shield, of which he was a part of it. His promos were always on point. I mean, you make me sick. And like all those Batista moments, just really fantastic. And I just had to highlight this one because I loved it.
Yeah, it was awesome. My promo of the year went to Paul Heyman, which really, I mean, I say I don't want to be repetitive, but it's weird because I feel like promo of the year might as well just be called the CM Punk and Paul Heyman award because if either one of them aren't around, it's a crapshoot. But if either one of those guys are around, it's going to go to one of them.
Right.
And it was Paul Heyman leading up to SummerSlam when he talked about how Brock would victimize John Cena.
That was an excellent promo. I think Paul Heyman even rapped a little bit in that one.
He did. It was
Yeah,
awesome. And yeah, and I really considered giving it to something else, but it's just not on the same level. And just because I don't want to give it any kind of like ridiculous build up, like, oh, I have this thing that you guys don't know about. The other one that I was considering was Sami Zayn telling Adrian Neville off the week before our Evolution.
That one was on my mind too, dude. That
But
was
I
on my mind
just
too.
can't, in all good consciousness, give it to that over the Heyman promo talking about Brock is going to victimize Cena. Because like he ripped into Cena. He said, Cena, we know that you've been defeated before, but you have never been victimized. You have never been conquered. It was amazing.
So good, dude.
And this
So
is coming off the heels of Heyman's like 4-month run of saying nothing but my client Brock Lesnar conquered the Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania, and just amazing.
yeah, just absolutely fantastic.
All right.
All right.
Well, up next, again, I said that he was in he won 3 categories for me. My jobber of the year, Heath Slater, baby.
Ding ding, you son of a bitch. Yeah, Heath Slater, excellent choice. Just a guy that really never really got it going when he was in the ring for the most part. And yeah, personally one of my favorite jobbers now that Santino is no longer actively competing. My jobber of the year though, which is funny because you recently said that this man attained that status, Cesaro.
Oh, wow.
What a crappy year for this guy.
Oh, wow.
It hurts, man. It hurts to give him this award.
I imagine it does.
Because I think anybody who knows me or has watched TwitWoW and all that stuff knows that I love Cesaro, but I've got to be honest. He starts out the first 5 months. I mean, I get that. You know, wins the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. But then here's the thing: he teams up with Heyman, but all Heyman every time like they'd come out, he'd talk about Lesnar ending the streak, and it was almost like at the same time Heyman would be putting himself over more than Cesaro, his freaking client. Um, and then when they
See,
left,
but Cesaro isn't Mike.
beg pardon.
Cesaro isn't Mike.
Mike who? What
Mike
is
Lyons, Brock Lesnar.
oh damn it! Oh god, I walked right into that one. But yeah, it was really even with that momentum didn't translate into any championships, didn't translate into any really major programs. The high point, in my personal opinion, of Cesaro's association with Paul Heyman was getting in the Money in the Bank WWE World Heavyweight Championship match.
Yeah,
Honestly, Cesaro did bigger things when he was with Zeb Coulter, and I'm not even kidding. When he was
he
with
did.
Zeb Coulter,
Yep,
he beat Randy Orton, who was the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, in a non-title match, and
sure
I think
did.
he had a phenomenal performance in that year's Elimination Chamber.
Yep.
So yeah, in fact, that I'm saying that year's Elimination Chamber, it was this past year that we're commemorating. So yeah, Cesaro is just my jobber of the year because even with Heyman, like,
Cesaro is the tale of 2 halves of the year, man. It's crazy.
it's insane. I've just got to focus on the more prominent half, which to me made him a jobber. So
Which
yeah.
isn't well. The more prominent half is the less recent half, you would say.
I mean, I
I
guess, but
think it's
I
safe to
mean,
say that Cesaro's more prominent half of the year was the first half of the year.
yeah, I mean, with the WrestleMania win and everything
Right.
else, but
Yeah.
again, just never translated into anything. It's a
Yeah.
shame.
All right. Up next, John. I'm gonna let you go first for this one. Heel of the year.
Another really easy one, Rusev.
Oh yes, we unanimous, both of us.
Yeah, because not only does he prove that the anti-American gimmick still works in 2014, which is
He
really
thrives with
sad because it shows that xenophobia runs deeper than I thought it did.
he thrives with
But this is a heel with credibility. Like, even though I love Seth Rollins to death, let's be honest about something. I remember that Money in the Bank ladder match. He only won it because of Kane's interference.
Yeah. That's
Rusev,
who I thought you were gonna pick. Honestly, I thought you were gonna say Seth Rollins.
I love Seth Rollins to death, and he's done some amazing, especially this past Raw to close out the year. But I gotta give it up to Rusev because he is that anomaly. He is that credible, gonna get it done by myself kind of heel,
Yep.
and I love it. Excellent.
Absolutely. And that, like I said, that was unanimous. So up next, face of the year, Sami Zayn, baby.
Excellent pick. In fact, I like yours better than mine. I really do. Sami Zayn had a phenomenal year. Crowd never gave up on him. Just did absolutely excellent. Mine, I think, is far more predictable. My face of the year was Dolph Ziggler.
Oh
Uh,
wow, I thought you would pick Ambrose, to be honest.
Yeah, Ambrose was good, but I mean, Dolph, I feel like is a guy that we've all kind of been with on this ride for a while, and things are finally starting to come together for him this year. Again, still very intrigued about what his road to WrestleMania is going to look like. Was the sole survivor at Survivor
Yeah,
Series.
that was really big.
That was huge. Had multiple run-ins with the Intercontinental Championship, and
And
now
hey, if we're
he's
being honest with ourselves, this was his first full calendar year as a babyface.
yeah. So yeah, really, really terrific year for Dolph, all things considered. I've
And
heard some.
now it's gotten to the point now that we're hearing from dirt sheets that they're actually the WWE might consider trying to give Dolph a push as a top guy.
I hope they do. It's been a long time coming, and I think
Yeah,
if any time has really merited those rumors to, have stock put in them and for WWE to go with it, it would be this year. Now, I know some people are probably going to say, well, Dolph's first half of the year was pretty average, and I would agree. He had a few run-ins at the Intercontinental Championship, all that stuff seemed to be pretty under the radar, but once he really got his legs, man, did he go running. And that's why I think I'm really picking him as my face of the year. So,
nice. All right. Up next is our two different Rookie of the Year segments, awards, whatever you want to call them. First one being the main roster Rookie of the Year. This is somebody who either got called up or called in and directly to the main roster. And John, I'll let you go first for this one.
this is my second time awarding it to this guy, Rusev again.
Yeah. And again, same here.
Yeah, came in and dominated, and he's the
Yep.
current U.S. champion, and he beat Sheamus for that belt, which I know
That's
Sheamus'
a
stock
big
is kind of falling
deal.
off. Yeah, and that's the thing. I was going to say, I
Yeah.
know his stock is kind of falling off, but it's still Sheamus. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got that out of the way. Now, how about our overall Rookie of the Year, meaning the guy that is new to the WWE company, Rookie of the Year?
This choice may be kind of eye roll for some people and deemed as ridiculous. I picked Finn Balor as
So
my
did
company
I.
rookie. Dude, a guy that can come in and immediately make a splash like he did with the
Yep.
beatdown on the Ascension and then
Absolutely.
NXT TakeOver Our Evolution entrance.
Yep.
No other choice. Finn
Well, I
Balor is
will
definitely my
say,
company
since
rookie
we
of the year.
both picked Finn Balor, I am going to give an honorable mention to Baron Corbin.
Excellent, absolutely excellent. I mean, the crowd is so into him.
Yeah.
They're putting like clock top stopwatches, pretty much human stopwatches, on his matches. So yeah, Baron Corbin is an excellent choice.
And another honorable mention, I think, would be considered a rookie this year, Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte had a very nice year this year. Still NXT Women's Champion, has had some great bouts, some hiccups here and there, but overall, I think she's really improving her game each and every time. And yeah, very good year for Charlotte.
Absolutely. All right. I'm going to take the next one. The face turn of the year, Randy freaking Orton.
Oh, dude, so good, so good.
He's been a face in our hearts all year long, but the
He
official turn happened when he got curb stomped into some steel steps by Seth Rollins.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, Randy Orton got crabbed on by the Authority and everything else all year. We were with him the whole way. We're like, don't you listen to him, Randy? You're wonderful. And then he's like, you know what? They're right. And he decks Triple H in the face. Just amazing.
Yep.
So, really great pick. Mine was, here's the thing with mine. I don't think it was a WWE product, which is exactly why I picked it. My pick is Damian Mizdow. Because
No, nice. Yeah.
I feel like WWE initially intended for this to just be a straight heel kind of thing, but the crowd loved it so much that they've turned Mizdow babyface,
Yep.
and that's why it's my face turn of the year because it wasn't a WWE product, it
It's
wasn't a WWE
organic.
design, totally organic. So yeah, Mizdow's my babyface of the year, and that's really saying something considering that before he became Damian Mizdow, this guy was all over the lot doing a new thing every week and just seemingly going nowhere. And not only did he find stability, he found
Never
a gold
forget
mine.
Damien Magneto Dow.
Exactly, exactly. And he found stability and he found a gold mine all at the same time. So
Yep.
good job.
Absolutely. All right. You can have this one first. Spot of the Year, also known as the By God, He's Broken in Half Award.
It's so funny because you pretty much, and I know you didn't mean to, of course, but you pretty much gave it away in your face turn of the year selection. Seth Rollins curb stomping Randy Orton on steel steps.
Well, wouldn't it be then Rollins curb stomping Dean Ambrose through cinder blocks? Isn't that kind of more By God, He's Broken in Half kind of thing?
I mean, to me, I see. Here's the thing. I think I did. I did originally pick that, right? But at the same time, I'm gonna be honest. I felt like it was kind of stupid at the same time. I mean, cinder blocks, really? It doesn't really kind of resonate with me. But the curb stop, first of all, on the announce table, which is what busted Randy Orton to begin with. So really, if I was to give it to anything, I would have liked to have given it to Seth Rollins' whole beatdown on Randy Orton just in general.
Right.
Because the curb stop on the announce table was vicious, and then the one on the steel step, which he leaves from the announce table to do, so he's got that height on it, just looked brutal. And he got the obligatory neck brace and stretchered out, and it was
The
just
freaking
really
neck
incredible.
brace.
Beg pardon?
The freaking neck
The
brace.
freaking neck break. And this time it almost actually seemed warranted. So yeah, it was a brutal moment, and one that I really wanted to recognize because I love how both men really played it off.
All right. I can dig it. My spot of the year is actually relatively well, I guess so is yours. It's relatively recent. It's Dean Ambrose doing an elbow drop off of a really, really tall ladder onto Bray Wyatt on an announce desk.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean, that to me, like, that's the right kind of spot of the year. Not this freaking, I'm going to throw you into the corner and you're going to get your eye poked out by a Singapore cane, or I'm going to do a suicide dive and land on top of a ladder crap. It's not exactly a safe, quote unquote, spot, but by dangerous standards, it's about as safe as you can get.
absolutely. I mean, visually, it's breathtaking seeing Dean Ambrose that high up.
Right.
The impact, I think, really kind of speaks for itself. I think it's an excellent choice. It's definitely approved by me here. So good job.
Yeah, and I guess I can give a an honorable mention to Ambrose and Rollins, both collectively being knocked off the Hell in a Cell and into the commentary desks.
Right.
So, all right, up next, mark out moment of the year, John. I want you to take this one first, and then I'll do the verse for the next two.
This one I was really excited about because I was quite proud of the moment that I came up with because I think I went with something else originally, but then I remembered this and I'm like, no, I've got to go with it.
Okay.
My mark out moment of the year is Bray Wyatt Children's Choir.
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
loved
Yeah.
this segment. You went as far as to say that it was one of the best TV segments on Raw that you had seen. I think you specified in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal. The atmosphere, the singing,
Do you want
the
to know
masks,
why? Do you want to know why everybody kind of forgot about that for the most part?
because it really didn't amount to anything in the long run.
Exactly.
And yeah, but as a standalone moment, as a Mark Al moment, this needs to be recognized
Yep.
because
Absolutely.
this was a brilliant piece of television. I'll even give credit to Cena, the despair on his face. Another great line from you, or was it from Reddit that you read it off of? You would have thought that John Cena was told by Nikki Bella that she was pregnant. I
Yep.
mean, just amazing all around. And then when Bray Wyatt's like, "Can't you hear them, John?" and he laughs and laughs. Everybody on Tweetov on social media was just going like, WTF, what's going on? What is this? Just one of those captivating moments of television that when you're there for it, it's like catching lightning in a bottle. Fantastic.
Absolutely. Before I do give my markout moment of the year, I do want to give an honorable mention.
Okay.
Sting's debut.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, that was huge,
Yeah, I mean,
and it led to kind of even more of a markout moment, even from you, because of Dolph winning the Survivor Series match.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the circumstances, people have been waiting for Sting to come to WWE. He finally did, and I don't think it disappointed given the circumstances. So excellent choice.
Well, I mean, the debut itself didn't disappoint, but the fact that there was literally no follow up did.
Yeah, except for Triple H, of course, saying, maybe you wanted to make your career relevant somehow? Dick.
All right, my actual markout moment of the year, though. And if this wasn't telegraphed, I don't know what is. This should be super obvious. Finn Balor's NXT Takeover R Evolution entrance.
Dude, so good.
Oh my god. The body paint painted up as the Demon Balor. Absolutely incredible.
Dude, by that NXT crowd standards, the only thing that could have competed with that in the same match would have been Hideo Itami's GTSTs.
Yep.
But I feel like what made the entrance better was just the pure aesthetic of it, the
Yep.
lighting,
The
the
dude, just the
pacing.
pageantry and the showmanship.
Yes, Yeah, brilliant way to articulate it because that's exactly what it was. I love that you picked this, and yeah, Finn Balor for freaking life.
Absolutely. All right, up next, and I'll take the next two first since you've gotten two firsts in a row.
Yes.
Most improved, I said Tyson Kidd, not because he improved in the ring, but because he actually grew a personality this year.
I know, right? Wait. I shouldn't say that. Let me redact that. Let me say this. Fact! I love him so much. And I love you even more for recognizing him on your awards list because Tyson Kidd, and you know what's funny? Looking at other like award columns and stuff like that, Tyson Kidd has thankfully been recognized as like comeback of the year in other categories.
Yeah.
And I'm glad people are talking about him. And I'm glad you're talking about this specifically because I think everybody just thought for so long, oh, Tyson Kidd's one of those guys who'll always be a good in-ring hand, but nothing else. And lo and behold, not only does he have a good personality, he is one of my favorite personalities on the entire WWE roster. Just really great TV whenever he's on and whenever he's, permitted to speak and have an extended engagement with somebody. So great pick, Ashton.
All right, and who was your most improved of the year?
Gotta be honest, I wasn't really a fan of this bet, but this was the hardest category for me, believe it or not.
See,
Ultimately,
and the
though,
reason it was easy for me is because I immediately thought, well, improved doesn't have to mean in ring, and it just immediately just Tyson Kidd came to mind.
I'd see, like, it's the same reason I picked the person I did. My most improved would be Bad News Barrett.
Yes.
Yeah, because in the ring, he is what he is. Even though I think under this Bad News Barrett gimmick, I don't know, there's a new energy to me in his in-ring performance, and it even proved true this past Monday. But with this Bad News Barrett gimmick, he had promos that seem more authentic, seem more organic. It seemed like he was having fun with them because I know that was your biggest problem, Ashton, with the Barrett barrage and all that other stuff was that it just seemed like, WWE was trying to groom it and Barrett didn't really seem to kind of jibe with that
Yep.
very well. Where, like, you just see the smile on his face and,
He's
and how
having
good
such a
it
good
is.
time with it, man. I
He's having
love it.
such fun. And yeah, that's why he's my most improved because as soon as they really greenlit this and, some of the things they did with it, yeah, it was
And do you know
fantastic.
what the crazy thing is too?
What's that?
In his case, in Bad News Barrett's case, it's not even just a character thing. He got a lot better in the ring this year too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like ever since he took on this Bad News Barrett gimmick, there seems to be a new energy to his in-ring performance, and I just love it. The bullhammer I think is a great finisher. Had he not been injured and taken off, I may have actually had that as a nominee for my finisher of the year. I love it. I love certain ways that he's executed it. He's won an Intercontinental Championship under this gimmick. I think it was Big E's reign that he ended when Big E was champion. And yeah, his promos have just gotten in a place where they're consistently entertaining. Where when he first debuted with it, it seemed like he was trying to find the waters. Well, now it's just smooth sailing for Bad News Barrett. So
Yep. Absolutely. All right, and up next, best talker. I will admit this is an incredibly biased pick, but I am going to say Dean Ambrose.
unanimous.
Nice. Okay, I guess it wasn't really that incredibly biased because apparently I'm not the only one that thought so.
Dude, when Dean Ambrose, whether he's more subdued and he's just kind of telling the crowd, or when he just comes off the hinges, either way, I really enjoy Dean Ambrose. I felt like he really commanded the microphone. It's a shame because for the longest time I've called Bray Wyatt the maestro of the microphone. Dean Ambrose may have stripped him of that title this year
Yeah, I
because,
mean, at least when Dean Ambrose talks, you can actually pick up what he's saying.
you can pick up what he's saying,
There's substance to it.
and I hate to say this about Bray, and this is another one of those, stabbing kind of moments. But with Bray's promos, it is starting to kind of feel like they're all running together. And I think you even said that, didn't you? Didn't you say that about Bray Wyatt's promos? Or I think you said that about something recently. Maybe it wasn't Bray Wyatt's mic skills. But I don't know. To
Yeah, I
me,
definitely did.
yeah, and see that must be what stuck because I agree with you. But with Dean Ambrose, it seems like each of his promos, at least even if they share commonality, it's not so much so where it's like, oh, face palm. So yeah, Dean Ambrose definitely my talker of the year.
All right, well, that was easy enough. How about your WTF moment of the year?
See, now this is another one where, like you said, with underutilized or overrated or this and that, I think it's kind of open to interpretation. My WTF moment of the year was Eric Rowan hitting on Renee, just coming up to her.
Well,
planting the
I
hair.
don't know. All he said was pretty.
Well, yeah, but it's just weird that it's Eric Rowan and he's wearing the sheet mask and it's
Dude,
Renee, which is
yeah.
adorable, and it's just
Yeah.
it's weird. Like that's what I take WTF to mean. Just like something weird and
Yeah.
unexpected, you wouldn't expect those two elements to converge in any kind of space. And
See, and to me, the WTF moment of the year is the one with the most potential nominees, I think, because you could go anywhere from WTF as in like what was the WWE thinking, meaning like Batista returning as a babyface and winning the Royal Rumble, WTF,
right, right.
or or you could go WTF as in like why did the WWE think this was a good idea? In which case you could say anything from the El Torito versus Minigator match all the way up to and including the return of guest Raw general managers like Larry the Cable Guy and the anonymous Raw GM.
Yeah.
And then
So
you could even talk about WTF moments like what? Like just what just happened? Why was that even said or done? In which case you could even go as recently as Christian talking about how we were going to get a match with two guys wrestling naked.
was that your pick? Was that your
No,
pick? Oh no.
my pick was actually the return of Raw guest Raw GMs.
Oh yeah, man, that
Because the actual WTF moment of the year was the show where the right after the main event ended, the anonymous Raw GM chimed in and said that he was going to show up next week, and then that jingle played just for the rest of the show. That was my
yeah.
WTF moment of the year.
Oh god, that was awful. So
Da-da-ding, 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 da-da-ding. Shut up.
exactly. Great pick, dude. Love it.
All right, pop of the year.
My pick, Daniel Bryan on the post WrestleMania Raw. He
Yeah,
comes out with those titles, man, and the crowd did not stop. And why this took the award for me, he first of all, really couldn't get a word in edgewise. And at one point when he was talking and going through his promo, the
deserve
crowd
it.
actually stopped him to tell him, you deserve it.
Yeah.
And that's why this is my pop of the year. That crowd treated Brian like he was a freaking conquering hero.
Yep.
And it was amazing.
Yeah. I wanted to pick a pop of the year not involving Daniel Bryan. And it's
Right.
not because I have something against Bryan, it's because I could literally just say my pop of the year was Daniel Bryan's reaction all freaking year.
yeah, pretty much.
So I
Yeah.
wanted to avoid that, and I went for a little bit more obscure, something that also happened at WrestleMania, though.
Okay.
Let's see if you can figure out where I'm going with this. Um, to me, the second, or I guess third behind both of Bryan's pops, biggest pop at WrestleMania involved somebody who hasn't won a match in about 3 months now.
Oh, well, no, because Bray Wyatt has won a match the past 3 months. Let's see, WrestleMania. Oh, Cesaro, right?
Yes, Cesaro eliminating the Big Show last to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
That's an amazing pick. Oh man, I remember you and I on live reactions. We were freaking out. That crowd erupted.
Yes, they did. They freaked the F out. And so did we. And it was appropriate to do so. And then the following night, the WWE was like, oh, you see that reaction? He's going to be a heel now.
Yeah, yeah. Oh God. Every time we go back to Cesaro winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal WrestleMania, first of all, it's gonna make it laughable when they do this match again this year. Because like, what are you gonna look back on? Oh, look at what Cesaro did. Oh, actually, no, forget about that. So that's gonna be laughable. And then just what it could have been for Cesaro makes it such a shame. But still, a great pick for the standalone award nonetheless. Because that
Yep,
crowd just exploded.
absolutely. All right. Upset of the year. I'm going to go first on this one. Heath Slater pinning Seth Rollins on an episode of Raw thanks to a helpful distraction from Dean Ambrose.
See, and that's why, like, I was actually going to pick that, and I am glad you did, because that was definitely one of the standalone upsets of the year. But the reason I didn't was for that reason. Like, I felt like there was going to be a debate. Well, John, I don't really know if you can call it an upset because Dean Ambrose was out there and they were in a program.
See,
So I
the
am, yeah,
reason though that I mentioned that when we had that discussion about that match, I wouldn't call it any less of an upset, but people were getting upset. People were legitimately raging over it. And to me, they still protected Rollins by having Ambrose be the cause of the distraction, but that doesn't make it any less of an upset because Heath
Right.
Slater, at the end of the day, Heath Slater still pinned Seth Rollins.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely one of those eye-popping moments of the year to be sure. Loved what I picked for upset of the year because I was freaking out over it, and I know a lot of people on Tweetov couldn't believe it. Tyson Kidd beat Sheamus by countout on an episode of Raw. I bet it was the same episode that Sheamus would lose the United States Championship to Rusev.
That wasn't even on Raw. That was literally on the network after Raw went off the air.
Yeah, yeah. Just what I mean to say is like the same night
Oh yeah,
over
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
on.
yeah. That was a
And
hard. I hope Sheamus was our low shot that night because holy crap.
yeah, yeah, I think he was. And Tyson Kidd beating Sheamus, albeit by countout, I don't think anybody expected that at all. Honestly, I think a lot of people were anticipating Sheamus just steamrolling Tyson Kidd, getting the bro kick. And you know what the thing is? Why I picked this as an upset of the year as well? It was a genuinely good match leading up to that finish.
Yeah.
You know, good back and forth. Hell, Tyson Kidd even fought out of the cloverleaf when I thought he was going to tap out.
Yep.
Like just some great moments, and then using Natalia as a human shield, the only thing that she's good for. Sorry, and then he like goes in the ring to secure the win. Yeah, just fantastic, and I think it was the start of Tyson Kidd's TV winning streak before he would kind of dip again, and now he's in this team with Cesaro. So
Yep.
great stuff.
Absolutely. All right, botch of the year. I'm gonna take this one first too because you had two firsts in a row. Kane, I believe it was either the night after WrestleMania or the night after Extreme Rules, gets on the mic and starts talking to Daniel Bryan and says, and I quote, "Congratulations, Daniel, on a hard fart victory."
Oh man. Kane, will you ever not amuse? Yeah, yeah, I think so. That was great. That's hilarious. I even forgot that moment happened. Then when you reminded me, I'm like, oh god, yeah, that was a thing. My moment is definitely like I think far more prevalent. So much so that I know for a fact that gifs have been made of it. Cameron tries to pin Naomi's back.
That was so ridiculous. She's the worst.
I know, so bad, and
Cameron, see, this is the point where I get to use my hatred for Natalia as a talking point. Cameron is probably Cameron and Eva Marie are the only people on Total Divas that have ever made me say, well, maybe now Natalia is not that bad.
I know, right? And the best part about this moment isn't like that she just does it and maybe like for a quick second she forgets herself and whatever, because I think I would have been far more forgiving. No, she has the leg and she's just waiting there, and she's even looking at the referee like he's the one doing something wrong. Like that's what makes this moment so hilarious, is that Cameron just doesn't get. In fact, I've heard that Naomi even like said during the match, like, what are you doing? Like, come on, you got to pin me like on my back, not pinning my back. So yeah, Cameron trying to pin Naomi's back, definitely my botch of the year.
I love it. All right, John, brand of the year. And I want everyone to know that this was incredibly difficult for me to pick because of certain factors that I knew went into it. But John, I want you to go first.
NXT.
Absolutely. That's the reason that this was so difficult for me to pick.
Yeah, NXT has just been consistently great. And again, this is a roster that I know you've got some like again indie phenoms, so to speak, on there, where it's like, oh, they're on NXT now, they're in the WWE product. So I get that may heighten awareness a little bit, but this is still a locker room of virtual nobodies for the most part. That
Yeah.
because not everybody does a great job of promoting it, but what can you do? But when they do have eyes on them, they deliver every single time, and I loved everything NXT did this year, especially their specials. Good God, the specials. So yeah, NXT is my brand of the year.
Absolutely. And most of the time I would agree with you. However, I this year is kind of an eye-opening year for me, and you and I both have really expanded our horizons. We've been watching a ton of NXT, but we've also been watching a lot of ROH. We watched a couple Shakara shows this year. We've been watching Lucha Underground religiously. We've really broadened our horizons, and to me, trying to be as objective as possible, the brand of the year 2014 is New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Great choice. Uh,
between the absolutely incredible tag division with the Time Splitters and the Young Bucks and freaking Red Dragon coming over. It's just and Gedo and Jado, just incredible. And this whole overlying storyline of the Bullet Club versus Chaos. The Bullet Club are a bunch of white American dudes who came over to Japan and got over and won titles. And Chaos was formed as kind of a way to sort of defend Japanese honor. And it is just amazing. And the matches that they put on are top notch. Freaking Finn Balor himself comes from New Japan as Prince Devitt. He freaking started the Bullet Club. This has been an amazing year for New Japan, and even though I wanted badly to give my brand of the year to NXT and make this unanimous, I would feel as though I am doing a disservice to the wrestling world not to point out how phenomenal New Japan has been this year.
Beautifully said. Unfortunately, I can't add on to too much of what you said because I know we've been watching events together, but I feel like you're far more plugged in than myself, and I know how rigorous you are in like your research and your attentiveness. So I'll just say that I love that you were different. I love that you give recognition to something outside of hell, not just the WWE sphere, but the American sphere.
Yeah,
In general, and you gave more global attention because I feel that's important. I have said for quite a few years now, maybe not in recent times, I can certainly concede that, but overall, as a wrestling fan, I have said on a couple of occasions how I love how Japan does business. I love how they treat the wrestling business. It gets legitimate media coverage outside of deaths and the more dark cases that America just loves to sensationalize and feed upon. Japan is just a great culture. Hell, one guy, MVP, said that WWE wasn't even his dream. His dream was to work in Japan. I mean,
yep.
that's how prominent it is. So, excellent pick, dude. I
And
love
I
that you
do
were
think it is
different.
worth noting that if we had to kind of rank the brands, it would be for me it would be New Japan, then NXT, then ROH, then Lucha Underground, and I don't even know, probably Chikara after that, and then Raw, SmackDown, and TNA.
Yeah. Yeah. So, good stuff, man.
Yeah. All right. Up next, gimmick of the year. I'll go first on this one. Stunt double, Davian Mizdow.
Excellent. It has caught such fire, dude. Just excellent. Nothing really more you can say than that to me. Like, again, he found stability with this gimmick and hit struck cold with the crowd. I think when him and Miz formally split, however they do it, hopefully Mizdow can retain that momentum, and it is a fear that I have, but for now, I'm just enjoying the ride.
Absolutely. Who is your gimmick of the year?
I think you'll like this, Dean Ambrose,
Oh,
aka, as WWE likes to call him anyway, and that's what I used, Lunatic Fringe.
yeah.
When
From
Dean
what I
Ambrose,
understand, he actually came up with that Lunatic Fringe title on the Indies, and that's not exclusively a WWE term.
oh wow, okay, all
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you for
I
the
mean, I
education there.
still want to point out that the WWE sucks for constantly feeling they need to label things.
Right, yeah,
The
definitely.
Lunatic Fringe, the Vigilante, the
Oh god.
Demon Kane. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I will give them a break on this one because, like I said, I'm pretty sure Ambrose came up with this one on his own.
I love it. And you know what? I'm gonna level with everybody. When the Shield first broke up, and I see Dean Ambrose come out in like these jeans and just his like little tank top looking thing, and he's wrestling there, I'm like, man, that's kind of weak. So this is kind of a weird look. But you know what? I really grew to love it. I think it was different. I think it was distinct. His promos are on point.
Yep.
This guy has come right out and said, I don't care. I don't care what happens to me. Hell, this guy went so far that when he got curb stomped by Seth Rollins into a
It
bunch of
was
cinder
pretty
blocks,
cool.
it was pretty cool. This is just such a wonderful gimmick, and I feel like he isn't really all that shouty unless he's enraged, in which case the situation calls for it. Like when Bray Wyatt screwed him out of his comeuppance against Seth Rollins. I think he fits Mick Foley's definition of crazy, which isn't, yelling over the top or eating turnbuckles, but sitting naked Indian style in front of your television and eating a plate of brownies. So kudos to you, Dean Ambrose. Kudos
Absolutely.
to you.
All right, John. Well, I mean, sitting naked on your couch watching TV, eating brownies seems like a pretty funny thing to do. So let's get right into funniest moment of the year.
I did it again.
Go ahead, John. Who's your what
Uh,
was your funniest moment of the year?
I'll be honest. I actually had a last minute change to this
Oh yeah, what was
because
your original pick?
my original pick was Damien Mizdow impersonating Sheamus because I loved it.
Yeah, okay.
But my new funniest moment of the year, Stephanie McMahon gets arrested.
Yeah.
This whole
That
thing.
was one of the funniest moments of the year, and that was actually one of our most popular videos that we were when we were talking about it on TWitWoW.
I think what makes it funniest moment of the year, honestly, isn't even just like what led up to it. You know, Bree's just like, oh, well, you're such a bitch, and the audience's reaction and stuff. Really, to me, it's Stephanie and especially Triple H selling it. Like, I know you.
Triple H is a king, dude. Oh, is that a hybrid? I bet you're proud of yourselves.
And see, like it's things like that, and I think you actually kind of proved my point for me because it's quotable. You're
Yeah,
still quoting Triple H at that segment to this day, and
yeah.
for good reason because it's genuinely funny. I just felt like there was great comedy here, and yeah, I just wanted to recognize it. So funniest moment of the year.
How long is it going to take for her to get processed? So good.
I guess it's enough time for me to make my address.
All right, well, funniest moment of the year for me, while that is definitely up there, but still, Heath Slater challenging Rusev. And you brought it up earlier, the line of the millennium. Ding, ding, you son of a bitch.
Just fantastic.
I
And then
was
he
thinking,
turns right into the super kick.
yeah. He comes out on fire. This badass southern boy has got red, white, and blue running through his veins.
And you know what? I think it was for that moment that really catapulted Heath Slater into my underutilized of the year.
Yeah,
It was just such a hilarious segment, and I think it really showed just the overall potential and charisma that Heath Slater possesses. And hell, for me, I think that's saying something because I've been a guy that I'll readily admit, for the longest time, I've refused to give Heath Slater his due, and he finally forced my hand with that segment. So
yeah.
good on
And you
you,
know what, dude? I
man.
think I can say now, I don't necessarily think that Heath Slater's underutilized, but I do think that he is massively underappreciated.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Definitely.
all right. Well, that was the funniest moment of the year. Let's move on. I'll go first for this one. Faction of the year. And again, sticking to the New Japan theme, my faction of the year is the Bullet Club, baby.
Too sweet.
Too sweet.
Uh, love it, dude. Love me some Bullet Club.
Dude,
Uh,
they are so dominant too. Machine Gun Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows. I don't know if they still are, but they were the New Japan Tag Champions for the longest time. The Young Bucks had the ROH titles for a long time. AJ is the New Japan World Champion. They're absolutely dominant, and it's a bunch of American white boys.
yeah, that's the best part. It's these guys that have pretty much just come, invaded Japan, and claimed
They're
it as their own.
imports.
Yeah, beautiful way to say it. They're imports, and I've got no qualms with it. Unfortunately, again, and see, that's why I really have to give credit to Ashton's list because it's so diversified. Whereas mine, while I do love all of my picks, it is pretty, by the books. My faction of the year, the Authority.
Yeah.
And you know what though? Like at the same time, it's not just because oh look at all the people they had in their ranks and look at the things that they did, though that's certainly worth merit. But when Triple H and Stephanie were really committed to being heels, and Triple H wasn't doing what you've infamously deemed, pulling a Triple H, they were great.
Yep.
I think they were great on their way out at Survivor. The promos they'd cut, like Triple H just not wanting to lose that control, Stephanie just being an utter bitch. Like they were fantastic. And then just with this Raw closing out 2014, arm in arm drinking champagne. That is the biggest middle finger I have ever seen to the middle class in my life.
It really is. It
Oh, you're
really
living check
is.
to check. Oh, let me just and that's I don't know if you caught it. I watched the end segment again. Stephanie actually raised her pinky while she was drinking from her champagne
Well, yeah, you're
glass.
supposed to.
Dude, just
It's
just
classy,
amazing.
John. Come on now.
I know, right? But the fact that the Authority would think to do that, specifically Stephanie, just speaks miles about her character, and that's
I
the
think
thing
I'm
too.
less surprised about that than I am surprised about the fact that Triple H didn't.
Yeah, really. But they're a great faction. Are they a bit tired and played out? Maybe you could make that case, but honestly, I'm still enjoying it, especially now that Seth Rollins has kind of stepped up. I'm interested to see what this new invigorated Authority has in store for the roster that pushed them out of power. So
Absolutely. All right. Now, I know we have a unanimous pick on this one. Non pay per view show of the year. Are you ready to say it on three?
yeah, one,
One, two,
two, 3.
Three,
NXT
NXT Takeover
Takeover
our
our
Evolution,
Evolution.
baby.
Yeah, man. What a
Woohoo!
great show this was.
For sure.
I mean, and here's the thing. It's not even because of the matches that you would think of, like Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn or Finn Balor's entrance and Hideo Itami taking on the Ascension. Even the women, which were the second to last match on this card, and Charlotte and Sasha Banks went out there and killed it.
To me, a pay-per-view can only really be as strong as its worst match. And the
Right.
worst match on this card was still entertaining.
Yeah. Like, what does that tell you guys? Really, I feel like that soundbite alone justifies us having a unanimous for this category. NXT owned this year. Hell, it was my brand of the year, and I think the only reason, like Ashton said, that it wasn't his was because he just had to give credit to New Japan for the things they did this year. But he has always consistently said, as have I, it's one of the best WWE shows out there. It is the best WWE show out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, NXT Takeover Our Evolution. Had I not, confused it, and like I said, I originally had it as my pay-per-view of the year because I even believe it surpassed WrestleMania. I'll go ahead and I'll say it. I felt like it was fantastic because I think with WrestleMania and those shows, you have an expectation for it to be great. Again, aside from the indie phenomenons that we know and love, this is a locker room of people that nobody really virtually knows because NXT isn't afforded that awareness. And yet they don't care. They go out and they kill it night in and night out, and that was epitomized with this event.
And the
So
great thing is, for every Finn Balor and Hideo Itami that we might have, we also have to give the women credit because Charlotte and Sasha Banks are WWE products.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
they've put on, well, at least the matches they had at NXT Takeover Our Evolution was better than, I'd say, a solid 90 to 95% of the matches that the men put on the main roster.
I would agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that. These women went out there. They didn't care about boundaries. They didn't care about this or that. And what I've loved with the commentary of so many people, Ashton, is that people have gone out of their way to say, we're not even going to differentiate. This was just a great wrestling match. Not just a great women's match, but just a great wrestling match, period. And I completely agree with those people, and I know we're among them. So, NXT TakeOver Our Evolution for having all of that, and Sami Zayn finally winning the championship. And not only that, but still on the same show giving that progression of Kevin Owens' debut and heel turn in the same night at the expense of Sami Zayn
Yep.
just makes this a show of utter brilliance.
Yep. It was amazing.
All right, heel turn of the year. What was your heel turn of the year? I'll let you go first on this one.
I think this might be unanimous, and I think we're about to revisit some really dark times.
Okay.
Seth Rollins turning on the Shield.
Yep. Unanimous. The chair shot heard round the world.
Why'd you do it, Seth?
You,
We loved you.
well, personally, I know we still do, but we would have loved you a lot more had you not stuck it to your brothers in the back.
We supported you.
We believed in your dreams, Seth.
We believed in you.
What? With you, Seth. We were with you every step of the way. We could have resolved the disagreement about it being a llama more peacefully, Seth. Why'd you do it? Why? But
Oh, you know what though, dude? The great thing is you and I were two of the very few people that actually took it well because we saw the forest through the trees. We saw that this was for the best. We saw that Seth was the guy that was starting to kind of get lost in the shuffle, and it was perfect that he was the one that got to stand out as the heel turn.
yeah, definitely. I mean, really looking back, what made this moment so genius and why I think it had to be, at least for me, Ashton, the heel turn of the year, I think people knew that Seth was going to hit Roman in the back with the chair, and you could hear one guy before Seth does it, before that chair connects,
Don't do it!
screaming no.
Yeah,
And like, how often do you see that? That's how emotionally attached audiences were to the Shield.
it was so good. And then Dean Ambrose's face afterwards.
It's like, I just
He
got that
looked
dog
like
Seth.
Amber. He looked like what I would have expected Jeff Hardy looked like when he got home and realized that his house was burned down and his dog was dead.
Exactly. And yeah, I was even just saying, like, Dean just looked and said, like, I just got that dog Seth. What happened? Didn't you have control of the leash, Seth?
He
And
just looks like Seth, and he's like, I know we didn't always get along, but he was still my brother.
Yeah, really, really, and it was. I think it was so good because I think everybody was thinking Ambrose, Ambrose, Ambrose.
Yeah.
Like Ambrose is going to be the one to
Well,
take
like
off.
everyone else was thinking Ambrose, Ambrose, Ambrose. You and I were thinking Reigns, Reigns, Reigns.
Yeah, and then WWE's like laughing at
Nope.
both of us from the mountaintop, and then
WWE's like,
goes
oh,
out.
oh, you know that guy that everyone thought was going to turn heel? We're going to quote him and say, nope.
Yeah, exactly. And yet he would end up becoming, at least for a while until this feud with Bray Wyatt, one of the top babyfaces. In fact, maybe he still has that claim, but it's
Yeah.
becoming a bit more difficult.
I don't know. Daniel Bryan's back now. That's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, exactly my point. And but
That feels
as
good to say, though. I will say that.
it really does. But keep in focus, heel turn of the year. This was easy for both of us. I mean, and then just a look on Seth's face, and then when he's just laying them both out with the chairs, and then Triple H comes back in with a smirk. I always win. Wow, you're a douche.
There's always a plan B.
I love that. Always a plan B. No chair shot. Dog died face. End of story.
All
Uh,
right. All right. So that was our heel turn of the year. Who, John, was your most underrated?
you know what? I like this because again, it was NXT getting some love, and not just NXT, but a tag team. Team Thick is
Oh,
my heel turn of the year.
yeah.
These guys, I think, and you know what's so funny? I'm going to borrow a line from WWE commentary that they actually wasted on Titus O'Neil, of all people, tonight on Main Event. Team Thick has all the tools to be an amazing tag team on NXT, and I have said multiple times on TWitWoW, the only thing they need doesn't even have to come from them. Management just has to care.
Yep.
They have to put time into Team Thick and give them that push because when they do, I think the rest will take care of itself.
Yep.
Team Thick, whenever they were in the ring, Buddy Murphy, greatly impressed. Wesley Blake wasn't bad either. The music was great. I think you've repeatedly called it like the wubbiest theme in history.
Yeah, it's just pure dubstep. But I do want to say Wesley Blake, for some reason, reminds me of like a poor man's version of Rick Victor
Yeah, I can understand that.
from The Ascension, just for those of you that aren't sure.
But I mean, Buddy Murphy, though, I think is a huge upside.
Yeah, Buddy Murphy he was a former Australian pro wrestler, and he was an absolute badass in Australia, and it's good to see that he's kind of carried that badassery over, but the difference here is that he's not really getting that much of an opportunity to really show it.
Exactly, and I'm hoping he does come 2015. I mean, hell, I say Team Thick, but I really want to emphasize here. I think Buddy Murphy is somebody that nobody should sleep on. This
Yeah,
guy's got something, and I'm looking forward to both just the packaging and if they taper off and it just is Buddy Murphy.
yep,
Either way, in 2015, I'm hoping they become just better rated than they were this year, so to speak.
right.
So, who's your most underrated?
Yeah, I was just about to say, if I kind of had to stick to the NXT theme where a guy just has loads of potential and all the upside in the world and just doesn't really get used, it would probably be Ty Dillinger.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it.
But,
Yeah,
but,
but
that's if I would stick to that theme.
right.
My actual most underrated of the year, and this is probably my favorite award that I gave out this whole time, is freaking Batista.
Excellent.
Because as soon as he turned heel on that random episode of SmackDown back in February, it's like a switch got flipped in his brain, and he went from getting freaking blown up 2 minutes into matches and cutting awful, cringeworthy John Cena-esque promos to being the most entertaining thing on the product, and people were still hating on him for it.
I know. I remember that SmackDown. Do you really think your heroes are better than me? Just,
I am more of a man than any of them. And you're
I
just
just,
jealous because none of them can ever be me.
I just want Batista and Scott Steiner to tag up just once.
I
And
know.
just so good.
Perfect.
Dude, I love that you picked that because to me it's such an unexpected pick because it's Batista and you think about the accolades and everything that they achieved. But I love how you're using the
And
sense
that's
of
another thing. He
underrated.
came back and tapped out to Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
He put Daniel Bryan over more than Chris Jericho put Bray Wyatt over.
I know, right? And hell, I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, with the two matches with the Shield, the first one that was the non-elimination bout, Batista ate the pin from
Yep.
Roman Reigns.
And then in the second one, he got eliminated first.
Yeah, first one eliminated. Oh man, so yeah, Batista
And the
was he?
whole time, he won the Royal Rumble and he never got a one-on-one title shot.
I know, right?
I would
Oh,
have
man.
quit too if I was him.
And I thought Randy Orton had sour grapes.
I know. Randy Orton at least puts up with it.
Exactly.
Batista was just like, I have a movie to shoot. I'll see you guys in a year or two.
Yeah, and then you want to think that the primetime players make millions of dollars. Yeah, right. So
And
yeah,
that's another thing too, is Batista was amazing in Guardians of the Galaxy.
so I've heard. He just killed it, man.
His
Absolutely killed it.
character was a guy, just a big, gigantic killing machine who took everything literally. Like somebody said, I think it was the raccoon in the movie that said something about how his people are completely literal. Don't say anything metaphorical because it'll go completely over his head. And Batista's just like, nothing would ever get over my head. My reflexes are far too good.
That should be his gimmick when he comes back.
I know it should be.
Oh man, and he really should have been healed the entire time. Really should have been. It's a shame that we wasted so much time trying to get him over
I
his
bet that if he
babyface.
would interpret rules a little more literally, he would have been expecting and seeing that duct tape coming.
Honestly, dude, had he been a heel when he had come in, and if he didn't have like all the apparently internal tension that allegedly took place, like apparently it was promised stuff and they didn't come through, I think Batista would have ran away with my heel of the year, and I'm not even kidding. Like I love Seth Rollins and he had an amazing year. Or no, I think my heel of the year was Rusev.
Rusev.
I love Rusev and he was dominant, but Batista just has that charisma and there's that affinity to him where like I think you really just want to watch him and whatever.
And
And yeah.
it's also worth noting that Batista set course one of the most memorable memes of the year, Blue Tista.
Oh, Dave.
All right. So we both got most underrated out of the year. I'll go first for the next one. Commentator of the year, easy pick for me, Steve Corino, baby.
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, what's the name of the guy's face that he hates? It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it.
BJ Whitmer.
BJ Whitmer. I hate his face.
So good.
My commentator of the year, and you know what? The more I thought about it, the more I am so glad I went with this. My commentator of the year is Tom Phillips.
Yeah.
Not even for the stuff that he's done on NXT, for the stuff that he's done on SmackDown, because here's the thing. He has to share a table. He has to share a booth, so to speak, with JBL and Michael Cole. JBL and Michael Cole, who love to bicker amongst themselves, take attention away from the match, and never, unless he really feels poked and prodded, which by JBL can be quite a bit, has always kept his focus on the match, always calling the moves, always talking about the performers. Tom Phillips to me, and plus his backstage segments with Ryback and whatnot were
And
always
Alicia
excellent.
Fox.
And Alicia Fox, I like Tom Phillips. He's a likable guy, so he's getting my Commentator of the Year award.
I love it. Amazing. He is easily my favorite WWE commentator for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Although, I don't know, Corey Graves might give him a run for his money in 2015.
Corey Graves apparently signed a multi-year contract. I guarantee you, I'll already lock it in. He's probably going to be my 2015 Commentator of the Year because Corey Graves is just something brilliant.
Yeah.
Really is.
All right. Well, up next, guest commentator of the year. John, you go first for this one.
This was really hard, Ashton, but ultimately I ended up picking AJ Lee. I just love how she gives it back to commentary whenever she's, in the booth. I love it how she gives it to her competitors whenever she's in a feud. I know she kind of derailed Nikki Bella and both Bellas a couple times, on commentary. Paige the same way, playing those mind games. AJ just has that very enjoyable personality behind a microphone. So, yeah, she's my guest commentator of the year.
The main reason that I did not think to pick AJ is because I personally don't even remember her being on the commentary booth this year. Although I'm sure she has, I just don't remember any notable lines. Because I remember last year was when they had the interaction where King was like, "Oh, something about how old are you?" And then she was just like, "Oh, too young for you," or "Too old for you." It was about Walt, that kind of stuff. But yeah, and this is I want to preface this with a little bit of a stipulation. My guest commentator of the year is The Miz, but not because I actually like The Miz on commentary. It's because of the one time, literally one moment, when The Miz was on commentary and Damien Mizdow won a match. The Miz's reaction was priceless. He immediately saw it. His shocked face was amazing. He said he won, and then he thought about it for a second. And he goes, "We won," and then he thought about it a little more. He goes, "I won," and then he was freaking out and marking out for himself. It was amazing.
Yeah, really great moment. And I think that does warrant guest commentator of the year because his moment was memorable, and I think it even got memed, I think, by a few people, and then certainly GIFs made out of it, where I can't really say the same for AJ Lee. I mean,
Yeah,
I'd have to go back a few years if there was to be a contender like when she said, when Tamina super kicked Nikki Bella, that was the exact moment she forgot how to do math.
yeah.
But in
Wait, was that this
2014,
year?
that wasn't this year. That's what I'm saying. I have to
Oh,
go back a little bit because I
oh,
feel like
okay,
that was
yeah. All right,
2013.
gotcha. Yeah, that was like
Um,
November of last year, wasn't it?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So really, when you compare the two, I actually think I would defer to yours here. Miz, just that one moment was excellent. So good job.
All right. Up next is the tag team of the year, and since we're kind of going snake style here, I'll go first. My tag team of the year is Red Dragon. They have been absolutely dominating the tag team scene everywhere they go. Our former and I think maybe even current, if I remember correctly, ROH tag team champions. Former, I believe, maybe again, also possibly current. Again, I haven't checked up on recently. New Japan World Tag Team Champions. They are the kings of the tag team world right now.
Well, I'll tell you something, Ashton. They may give you a reason, but after that explanation, you certainly don't have to. That's an
Ha!
excellent pick.
For those of you
Yeah.
that did not get that reference, their theme song, I believe, is either called or just says a lot. I'll give you a reason. It's amazing. I love that theme too.
Yeah, I'm actually, I was trying to work in that, and I hope that that was a reference that actually executed. But
And by the
regardless,
way, it is worth noting, guys, it takes a lot for me to pick anybody other than the Young Bucks for this category. So it's kind of a big deal that I gave it to the Red Dragon.
oh yeah, super kick party left out in the cold.
Yeah. They
Oh
were
man, but
definitely
yeah.
runner ups, but I could
Oh,
not
without question, yeah.
I couldn't not give it to Red Dragon.
Yeah, Red Dragon. I mean, hell, that was probably one of the reasons I'm most grateful about committing to ROH, with you and watching these shows with you. I mean, this team is just everything that I love in pro wrestling in tag team form. Like, it's amazing.
I
So,
mean, Bob Fish wears a mouthpiece with shark teeth on it.
just amazing. Again, giving NXT some love for my tag team of the year, The Ascension.
Yeah.
These guys'
In the
longest.
as far as the WWE goes, I think that if you're not willing to swallow any sense of dignity that you had left and say the Usos, I think that the only realistic pick is the Ascension.
Yeah, I mean, longest reigning NXT tag team champions. Um, Guys that really are like brutal, dominant heels, but I mean, the NXT crowd embraced them. They were sadistic. They loved watching these guys squash local competitors. They got behind Connor with the yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, these guys had it.
And the Ascension is gonna bring annihilation to the main roster now.
Exactly, yeah, and already, picked up a win against Miz and Mizdow on the main roster. I don't think the tag titles are that far behind. Yeah, they're my tag team of the year, WWE speaking, and I
I
certainly,
dig it.
yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, sticking with the. Oh, no. I guess that's not a tag team theme, but we can say theme because the next one is theme music of the year.
I'm thinking this one's gonna be unanimous because I know how crazy you are for this.
Oh, well, then if you're picking it too, then yeah, definitely. Finn
Uh,
Balor, Catch
yeah,
Your
Finn
Breath by
Balor, catch your
CFO
breath.
Money.
Yeah, just
Amazing.
excellent. Especially the version that premiere because before NXT Takeover Revolution, the availability on iTunes, there was always like this kind of loop, but the actual theme, there's this gradual build to it, and
Yeah.
I love it, and just it's so good. And you know what the funny thing is, Finn Balor, I think, has a history of just really good themes because his New Japan theme, Real Rock and Roller, I love that theme too.
Oh my God, yes, it's amazing. That's just like
So good.
just pure techno too, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and really incredible. So Finn Balor, I mean, keeps the streak of great themes alive. Hopefully, when he comes to the main roster, that does not end.
Hopefully,
I'm
when it
really,
comes to the main roster, he keeps Catch Your Breath.
yeah. Well, I mean, the Ascension kept there, so I have no reason to think that Finn
Yeah.
Balor won't keep his.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad we agree on that.
I think that once a guy lands on a CFO Money theme, we can pretty much count on them keeping it for a while.
Definitely.
So, all right. The next category, I think I'm going to let you go first on this one. The finisher of the year.
I picked the RKO.
Wow. Okay. I mean,
Uh,
I get it because of the hashtag RKO out of nowhere trend and that kind of thing. But I think that there are at least two other finishers that I really want to give credit to. So you go ahead and do your explanation for the RKO, and then I'll go.
Well, I mean, you pretty much gave it on my behalf. I mean, the social media awareness, the Vine videos of just Randy Orton's head,
And then
you know,
even around Christmas time, there was a viral video out where Orton took an RKO from a little kid on a bed.
yeah, I mean, it's just a move that I think has re-sparked interest and admiration from the general public. I mean, hell, the shoulder block to Cena at Hell in a Cell, we were talking about that earlier,
Yep.
caught an RKO. It's had some great visual moments. Yeah, the RKO just continues after all these years to endure as one of the most visually beautiful finishers in WWE.
Yeah. And my finisher of the year, I'm going to say my runner up first is the Blackout
Okay.
because it's proven to be, if not a guaranteed 3 count on the first try, it's already proven that it can put guys out for good if done on a harder surface than a ring mat.
Right, yeah.
I mean, he's done it on the briefcase, he's done it on cinder blocks, he's done it on the steel steps. The Blackout is an incredibly legitimate finisher. But the finisher that I am going to give my finisher of the year accolade to, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, is the
Okay.
accolade.
Oh,
Rusev's
man.
finisher. I don't think, I think the only time anybody's ever gotten out of it, I believe, was Jack Swagger. I don't know if anyone else ever has, but regardless, no one has ever beaten Rusev in a match. And he has never won a match by pinfall, I don't think.
I think the only time he won a match by pinfall was a SmackDown match he had with Dolph Ziggler, because Ziggler was kind of juking and jiving and
That's
just really
right,
giving,
yeah.
yeah.
And it took that long for him to have to beat somebody by pinfall. And I say have to because he's been so dominant for so long, and he's been making everyone tap out to the accolade. He has brought back the camel clutch.
He has. He's restored its credibility and its splendor. Even when they don't tap out, they pass out, as was the case with Sheamus, Swagger, Big Show. I think tapped out once. You know, so many
Big
guys have
Show
fallen
didn't
victims to
Big
it.
Show pass out as well?
Did I say Big Show? Well, yeah, I meant to say Big Show, so Big Show as
You
well.
said Big Show tapped out.
Well, yeah, I think he tapped out once, but then I think he also passed out. You're right. So yeah, and there's something about the image of this big guy, not necessarily mauling you and pinning you, but having you in a submission hold like that.
Yeah.
That's why I actually liked when Big Show at, I think it was like 2008, 2009, he used the camel clutch and he called it the colossal clutch. But there's just something about that imagery and stuff, and I'm really glad that Rusev went that route, and I think he's going to win. If he does get to world title status, which I don't think is anything to scoff at, I think he'd win a world title with that maneuver. So yeah, definitely a worthwhile candidate for finisher of the year.
Yeah. All right. Up next is the best on air non wrestling talent. And I'm going to go first for this one. And I do want to give a little bit of a kind of an explanation before I say it, because I don't know if I would necessarily say that this is the best on air non wrestling talent, but it's my personal favorite on air non wrestling talent that I was introduced to this year. And I know that this is somebody that's been around for longer than just this year, but this is more of a subjective, like, I didn't know about this guy until this year, and I became a huge fan of him for very few reasons other than just the fact that he's awesome. Gavin Loudspeaker, the ring
Wow.
announcer for Chikara, is freaking awesome. He has actually turned ring announcing into something that crowd participation can be a thing with.
Well, that's amazing, and I think if that's the case, then certainly he is a legitimate recipient of your award. I can't really add much to that discourse there because I'm not that familiar with Chikara
He
outside of most of the
every
knowledge.
time there's a match, he says the following match is for, and then everyone says along with him, one fall. And it's like there's an actual crowd participation going on during the ring announcing happening before the match. And I think that's just such a great way of keeping your crowd involved and keeping them from sitting on their hands and keeping them interested in the show.
Absolutely, absolutely, great pick. I wish I could add more, but if any ring announcer could do that, then again, certainly a legitimate recipient of this award. So good stuff. My non wrestling talent of the year, Renee Young.
Yes.
So likable. I think exactly what a backstage personality should be. Just kind of that like precocious, kind of kind individual. Kind of is at the well, even heels don't really mock her. Even heels kind of seem to like Renee, given the circumstances. Just everybody likes Renee. How could you not? She's wonderful. So yeah, I love her. I hope she does more commentary stints in the future as well. She's just great, and I think she's somebody that really loves this. I was actually afraid for a little bit because I had heard murmurs, I think, early in the year that she might have gotten swallowed up by ESPN and she may have left us. But I think WWE beat them out, and I'm glad they did because I think Renee's worth keeping around. So
Yeah.
excellent
All
stuff.
right. All right. Up next, our quote of the year. John,
Uh,
I'm going to let you take this one first.
I think you and I probably had the most fun with this one, or one of the categories we had the most fun. Mine goes to Mark Henry, the Big Show. You tagged me like you didn't know me. And this was in their tag title match against Golden Stardust the night that Mark Henry turned heel. Just a classic Mark Henryism, you know? Just that anger kind of slowly but surely seeping out, and just a great soundbite altogether. So that's why it's my quote of the year.
All right, guys. I am going to have a little bit more fun with this. I'm going to just go ahead and mention a bunch before finally kind of finishing off with my actual pick for the quote of the year.
Sure.
First of all, after Brock Lesnar said Brock Lesnar one time, Brock Lesnar said, I love it when you say that. Say that again. Noteworthy from the Hall of Fame, hard work pays off, dreams come true, bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
Right.
That's another one from SummerSlam. I'm going to leave him in a pile of blood and urine and vomit. After defeating Titus O'Neil,
Yeah.
Bo Dallas, silly me, Mr. Butterfingers.
Oh, that's another good one.
Paul Heyman, very recently, I put the Jew in jiu-jitsu.
Oh, Paul.
After winning a Slammy, The Miz, while the crowd was chanting, "We want Miz now." I get it. You want Miz now.
Oh, man.
Tyson Kidd in any match against somebody who doesn't speak English. Ask him in insert language here.
Yeah.
I think that the most notable one was against Finn Balor. It was ask him in Irish. Another really good one in and this was from, I believe, from Extreme Rules or Battleground or Payback. Payback, that's what it was. Paul Heyman in WWE, you can have anything you want except the thing that you want most.
Yeah.
Still rings true to this day. Of course,
Certainly.
Batista, I understand and I quit.
Oh, man.
Freaking Fandango had a bunch of them. You're not even a real journalism. That's right. My personal favorite Fandango line of the year. She smells like cinnamon toast crunch.
Yeah.
The Sami Zayn quote from the last episode before Takeover Our Revolution. You're not ending anything. You don't get to end me. I end you and your story as NXT champion. I'm taking that title. And then he bats the microphone out of his hands.
That was just epic on so many levels.
Paige at a house show. Tag me in, you stupid cow. Dean Ambrose talking to Seth Rollins. You stabbed me in the back, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Again, Dean Ambrose in August after throwing ice water all over Seth Rollins. What? It's for charity. Chuck bucket into face.
Chuck bucket into face.
When Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury were walking down the ramp and Ambrose said, "Oh no, they sent the Cruiserweight division to come and get me."
Yeah.
Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy.
Oh, God.
Because you're coming out here flexing like you're Arnold. More like, hey, Arnold, you never should have stepped off the stoop.
That was actually almost my winner, believe it or not.
Of course, Heath Slater, ding ding, you son of a bitch. Paul Heyman, I told you I wanted the streak. I got what I wanted. I get everything I want because, yeah, I walk through the valley of the dead man, but I fear no evil because I walk beside Brock Lesnar.
Excellent.
Party time's over, Grandpa. And so is the big guy. Bad Joke Cesaro, one of my favorite unused gimmicks of the year. Hey, John, where did you get those shoes? Kmart? Of course, more Paul Heyman lines. The whole thing with my client Brock Lesnar conquered the Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania, but also I am the one behind the one who conquered the one who thought he was the one to beat the one in 21-1. That was talking about John Cena.
Right.
There are 3 things that will survive the apocalypse: cockroaches, Twinkies, and Dean Ambrose.
Oh, nice.
Bo Dallas, never forget. Help, they're trying to kidnap me. They touched my bum. Let me go quietly. I want a sip of water. I'll call the real cops on you. I'll take your shirt off. Just so many legendary lines in one segment.
Definitely.
Oh my god. Let's see. Let me see if I can find at least one more before we do this, before I actually give my actual pick. How about this for worst quote of the year? Hey, Barrett, I'm afraid I have some bad news for you. Hopefully next week you won't be around, said by Jerry Lawler.
Wow.
And then Barrett didn't show up the following week.
Douche.
Oh, and one more before my actual quote of the year. Hey, Kane, you forgot your nuts, stupid.
So good stuff.
Back, man. And my actual quote of the year, my favorite quote all year long: ring the bell, ring the bell. It's no DQ. There's no bell to ring. Randy freaking Orton, dude. I say what you want about him on the mic, but his off the mic trash talk is almost in Mark Henry levels of amazing.
You know, it's kind of scary that even given Daniel Bryan's recent return, the more we talk about Randy Orton's year this year, the more I want him to win the Rumble.
I
I'm
know.
just,
Well, dude, and I hate the idea of Bryan versus Lesnar in the first place. So if I can't have Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar, my second favorite pick for that match is Randy Orton versus Lesnar.
give us the match, damn it!
Yeah.
He had such a good year this year, and to have your quote of the year, which, oh my god, thank you for taking us down that road of memory lane. It made the hype for your overall pick just that much more escalated and everything. And yeah, had such a good year on every front and proved to be like really an enjoyable personality, heel or face. Because at least when he was a heel here, it was completely antithetical to when he was like all slow and Randy Borton and all that stuff. Just a phenomenal year for him. And yeah, I love that you celebrated that one quote. That's great.
Still though, that Bo Dallas segment, dude.
I know, dude. Legend status.
Just so much came out of that.
I really think like next year we should probably have like distinct from promo of the year, just like a segment of the year overall, because I feel like there were quite a few memorable segments this year.
Yeah, well, I
And
mean, if we would have done segment of the year this year, though, I probably would have had to give it to the finish to last night's Raw.
yeah, and I would agree with that certainly. But Bo Dallas, man, he killed it in that segment. Whew.
Okay, now we still have. I think we only have seven left, and a few of them are pretty simple. Title reign of the year. I'll go first on this one. I'm just gonna say it. Brock Lesnar as WWE World Heavyweight Champion has been amazing. His matches are awesome. Every time he shows up, it's absolutely amazing. I mark out more for him having an appearance than pretty much anybody else. Say what you want about him not showing up enough, but when he finally does show up, it means everything.
Absolutely. My title reign of the year, I'm going to try and keep it succinct. Adrian Neville NXT title reign. I
Yeah.
mean, beat Bo Dallas to get it started in a ladder match, the first ladder match on NXT. Celebrated with John Cena and was, complimented and commemorated by everybody. Had a long reign, beat really everybody in that reign, and towards the tail end of it, started to actually tap into more heelish tendencies, which I got to be honest, I didn't think Neville was capable of. So,
And the best
was
thing about it is that even though he was tapping into those tendencies, literally 1 week after having lost the title, he was able to get all of his babyface support back.
exactly. So yeah, title reign of the year, definitely Adrian Neville with that NXT championship.
All right, non WWE wrestler of the year, John.
Jay Lethal.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, I remember you and I were conversing, and you said you were hoping that I wouldn't peg Johnny Munoz. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this were kind of hoping I wouldn't either. And don't worry, he's had an impressive year on Lucha Underground, but maybe next year he'd be a more worthwhile contender. But I have to give it to Jay Lethal for multiple reasons. A, never thought this guy could pull it off as a heel, ever. And he has really impressed me with this association with the House of Truth. Two, he's the current ROH television champion, and he's close to eclipsing Matt Taven's reign for longest reigning television champion, which, ironically enough, Matt Taven achieved that reign with Truth Martini as well.
And
Um,
see,
and see, I think after he drops this, he's going to be a world title contender. So I see even bigger prospects for Jay Lethal in 2015.
yeah.
Yeah, he's just a guy
I
who's
don't think Jay
stuck.
Lethal has ever held the ROH World Title, which is a travesty at this point, in my opinion.
He's so good, dude. He is so good. His
Yeah.
matches are consistently entertaining, despite the fact that it's kind of become a running joke for me when you and I watch together. All right, Body's going to be everywhere for this matchup because it always happens with the House of Truth.
Yeah,
Jay
it
Lethal
does.
has, yeah, Jay Lethal has really come into his own, and I wanted to acknowledge him for that. So he's my non-WWE Wrestler of the Year.
I love it. I absolutely love it. All right. Yeah, Jay Lethal, awesome decision. He's been putting on better matches than almost anyone in ROH lately. He's been
Yeah,
great.
yeah, absolutely.
My personal, I almost called him a high spot, but my personal non WWE wrestler of the year, it has to be AJ Styles. He has been everywhere since he finally got out of the dumpster fire that is TNA. And if I'm being perfectly honest with you guys, the fact that he got out of TNA is reason enough for him to win this award. But on top of that, you have the kind of year that he did, returning to Ring of Honor, going to New Japan, being a part of the Bullet Club, doing everything. This guy has been everywhere, and he has kind of gotten to the point now that he is at the ripe old age of what, like 37, I think.
Yeah,
30, let me look here. Yeah, 37 years old, and he is the face of independent wrestling right now. And not only that, he's one of the top faces, and I don't mean that in a babyface sense. I mean top, like, people, like top representatives
right.
in Japan as well. AJ Styles had the New Japan, the IWGP World Title for over 5 months. He won it in May and held it until just very recently. He has been absolutely dominating everywhere he went. I don't think he ever ended up getting the ROH World Title. That's because he has greater aspirations, and he ended up winning it in freaking New Japan with the Bullet Club. So AJ Styles, and the only reason I went with Styles over a couple other guys, because the other guys to me that I was considering were Adam Cole, who, again, to me, it's really between Cole and Styles. And then the other one, I almost went with Shinsuke Nakamura for the sake of being like this guy, kind of like for the Gavin Loudspeaker. Like, I don't know if he actually is the best non WWE wrestler of the year, but I just kind of started getting into Japanese wrestling this year. And Nakamura was absolutely amazing, and he just got introduced to me this year, and he's just awesome. So I almost gave it to him. Almost gave it to Adam Cole because he was the ROH World Champion for a while, and he's just been absolutely incredible this year. Work just amazing. He was a part of some of the most commonly GIFed events in independent wrestling, including the double ballplex from Candice LeRae onto the Young Bucks after they hit Adam Cole with a double nut super kick. Like, it just so much ridiculous stuff happened with Adam Cole. But at the end of the day, yeah, I did feel like I had to give it to AJ Styles.
Why I love that you gave it to AJ Styles, and real quick, just to get it out of my system, Adam Cole, baby! Okay, had to get that out of my system. Now, why I love that you pick AJ Styles, I gotta be honest, you know I love AJ. You know that I'm an AJ Styles fan. When he left TNA, I was actually very concerned because, as you noted, he was 37, and I knew he was going to return to the independents, maybe do some stuff with Ring of Honor. But I thought, well, are people still going to be interested in him? You know, he is getting older. It's just kind of be in Ring of Honor and just do that. To know that his star exploded like this
Yeah.
as soon as he left TNA, again, as you said, I think that is worthy of commendation for this award because
And the
I
crazy thing is, he left the second biggest company in America to go to the biggest company in Japan. And not only is he almost definitely getting paid more now, but he's actually getting paid now rather than his checks either not showing up or getting bounced.
And he's not doing stupid crap. Like, he's being a part of great matches. He's a
Yeah.
part of a great group in the Bullet Club. As somebody
He's
who
not
loves
getting involved in random pregnancy adultery angles.
exactly, like as somebody who loves AJ Styles, like myself, and I only really tried to bear through TNA for Styles. It's so good to watch him on the independents where he can really be himself and have fun again. Jesus, TNA, I think it was just eating away at everybody, and I'm just so glad that you recognize Styles this year because I think his story is really even in quite a way an empowering one. Because to be as old as he was and to still be owning the game the way that he is. I mean, holy crap.
Absolutely. All right. Up next, on screen relationship of the year.
I hope you love my pick as much as I loved assigning it. Natalia and Tyson Kidd.
Well,
I
no. Well, I mean, yeah, that's a great pick, but that's not who I was going to say, and I thought I was going to go first. So, yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to get out because now I'm really curious to hear yours. Just everything on Total Divas, the bickering, TJ being a legitimately good husband, but then doing quirky things like taking his wife to see an ostrich, which one of the coolest things ever in my opinion. But of course she's unappreciative. And like now that they're doing it more, like in WWE, Raw, SmackDown, always cheesing up for the cameras when she wins, taking credit for her wins, not paying attention to her sometimes with the headphones and the iPod. Just great stuff. I love this relationship. So yeah,
Tyson Kidd's amazing.
yeah, he
I don't
is.
know though. I thought that I thought that it was implied that this was best on-screen relationship of the year, not worst.
Oh well, let's see who you picked, man. Who'd you pick?
Triple H and Stephanie McMahon,
Oh my god.
everybody's favorite prom couple.
Oh man, drinking champagne arm in arm.
Yeah, they love each other and hate everyone else.
Dude, if I could, yeah, well, actually, it would be on one hand, but man, were they all memorable. Every time that Stephanie got turned on by Triple H imposing his will on like other competitors, and then they would just like make out in the ring, and like they would just revel in their own dominance. Like they were a great couple. They had the chemistry. I mean, because they're married in real life and they have freaking children in real life, and it translates well on television. I think that's an excellent pick.
Yeah, I the the obnoxygen consumed by this relationship is exceeded only by how much they are cheesing it up for the camera.
Exactly.
It's amazing. All right, John, female wrestler of the year. I really hope this is unanimous.
Oh, even if it's not, I know you'd love my pick anyway. Sasha
Sasha
Banks.
Banks, yes.
Sasha freaking Banks. I have to, and I always hate doing this because everybody knows I love you guys. You guys make us doing this one of the most fun things ever. So I don't even really mean you. I just mean generally speaking. I have to go on a mini tangent for a second. Sasha Banks is so underrated by everybody. Like everybody
And
gives
even the people that acknowledge, well, she's pretty good. That match that she had with Charlotte was pretty good. Because to me, she carried that match.
Yeah, yeah. And see, that's where I was gonna go with this tangent, Ashton. Is like everybody, and I'm not saying that I hate Charlotte. In fact, I think me and Ashton have come around pretty well on Charlotte. But everybody acts like Charlotte's this godsend. Like, oh, she's so brilliant in the ring. She's so wonderful. Sasha was the ring general in that match to me. Sasha made that match to me. Sasha is an amazing character, cuts wonderful promos, knows how to work a crowd, has an amazing in-ring move set, a great work rate, just everything. She honestly, I mean, Paige is really tapered off, and the moment that she gets hot again and people legitimately care about her again, as in terms of like the powers that be, she'll probably overtake it and become like the number one woman again. But for the time being, it's all about that bank, and
Well, and dude, it's
Sasha's got
also
it.
worth noting before the live special WWE Network era, to me, the best NXT women's match of all time between the point of becoming Full Sail NXT from FCW and the live special WWE Network era. During that time period, the best women's match was Paige versus Sasha Banks.
Yeah, yeah. I just,
And even to this day, I would argue that Paige versus Sasha Banks, that match that they had, is one of the top maybe 6 women's matches in NXT history. And it just so happens that another like 1 or maybe even 2 of the rest of the top 5 also involve Sasha.
I mean, dude, she's killing it. And it really does legitimately irritate me to some degree that she does not get nearly the credit that she deserves from the general public. I think she constantly gets overlooked for the
It's
Charlottes
because
and for
she's a
others.
heel, and it's because she's a good heel.
Yeah,
She's
and
not a cool heel that gets over by doing stuff that like cool badass people would do. She's a heel that gets over by doing dastardly things that people dislike.
And just a quick side note for those of you who saw this image on the internet, and if not, you need to just Google it very quickly. Ashton showed me a picture that I marked out hard for, and I wish would make it to our NXT television screens. It was Sasha Banks and Finn Balor posing together, and I think what was it, Bullet Club T-shirts or Balor Club T-shirts? It was
Bullet
one of
Club. They
the
were Bullet
Bullet
Club,
Club,
and they were
Bullet
both
Club.
holding up the Too Sweet NWO sign.
Yeah, Too Sweet NWO sign. That needs to be a thing.
Yeah,
That needs to be a thing. I loved it. So yeah, Sasha Banks, female wrestler of the year. I love her. Just amazing.
she is awesome. And the crazy thing is, from what I understand, she is a legit, like, straight up nerd. And I'm not even just talking like, oh, she wears glasses and plays Call of Duty in her free time. I'm talking like freaking comic book nerd, wrestling nerd, like actual nerd.
That oh my god. I think I love for Sasha Banks just went up like 10 levels. Oh man.
But like, yeah, like she consistently, I don't think I've ever seen a Sasha Banks match that I was like, oh, that could have been better. Because they're all good.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
honestly,
again, I really want to kind of emphasize, like, it amazes me how the people who could see and were able to point out that Randy Orton carried Roman Reigns to a good match at SummerSlam can't manage to see that Sasha Banks carried Charlotte to a good match at NXT Takeover or Evolution.
I remember you once said when the Shield were still the epicenter of the wrestling world, and you can argue that they still are, just in a very different way, that they brought out the best with everybody they worked with, and that's the vibe I get with
That's
Sasha
Sasha.
Banks.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So yeah, there you go.
Okay, part-time or best part-timer of the year.
This one was so easy. Brock Lesnar for me.
Brock Lesnar, absolutely. Wait, what?
Yeah, Brock Lesnar.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought you said. I wasn't sure, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, oh
I
god,
think
wait,
I
what did I
think
do?
you said Brock Lesnar for me, and I thought that the person's name ended with for me, and I was like, what?
Oh, okay. No, but yeah, this is really
Brock Lesnar is an
Yeah,
easy pick here.
yeah, self-explanatory, guys. Ended the streak, dominated John Cena, is still the current WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and is just probably one of the most legitimate competitors to wear that belt in quite some time because you see him and you know something's going down.
All
So
right.
yeah,
And our 50th award to give regarding 2014 Best Move Cell of the Year, also known as the Ziggles Award.
and I gave it again, kind of referenced it earlier. Randy Orton selling the curb stomp. I
That
just
is hilarious because mine also involves Randy Orton in another way.
Yeah, I mean, he even cut a promo about it. Like, you got a pretty good finish, kid. I'm still seeing stars.
Oh,
And
it was so good.
that was another great quote too for adding your little quote list there. Um, and yeah, just a great sell, especially that Steel Steps one. So yeah, just great stuff. But which one involving Randy Orton did you pick, Ashton?
Well, I could be really snarky here and say that the best move cell of the year was CM Punk selling Kane's chokeslam onto the table because we haven't seen him since.
Oh wow.
But no, my actual best move cell of the year was John Cena selling Randy Orton's RKO in the freaking Hell in a Cell match.
Okay. All right, nice.
The one that he got taken on with the shoulder block was just amazing.
Absolutely.
All right. That's the last of our 2014 awards, but we do have one award left to give.
My
The
personal favorite.
most anticipated 2015 debut.
Who do you want to go first?
Go ahead.
My most anticipated 2015 debut, Kalisto.
Oh, yes.
He is going to own it as soon as he arrives. And I never really like to be this emphatic unless I'm certain about it, but I will go there. I guarantee that Kalisto is going to set the world on fire in 2015. It's funny, Ashton, because I originally wanted to say the Lucha Dragons, but I changed it because we've already kind of seen Sin Hunikara, or Sin Cara, because I know people don't really like that nickname.
Yeah, and from what I
Uh,
understand, Hunico is actually under the bunny costume too.
yeah. So I felt like that would kind of be cheating a little bit, even though, for the record, if they do come up as a team, my sentiments stand. I think they will be a welcomed addition to the tag team
Right.
division, and their merchandise will kill. But as a standalone entity, when that tag team dissolves, Kalisto is going to be such a beloved babyface.
Yep.
And he is going to do things, man. He is going to, I think, break merchandise records. I think he's going to have WrestleMania moments. He's going to kill it in ladder matches, chamber matches.
He might be the new designated Royal Rumble ridiculous save guy.
Maybe, yeah, yeah. I mean, every guy has, I mean, to use Ashton's verbiage, a floor and a ceiling. And yeah, being realistic and pragmatic, I'd say Kalisto's ceiling, he'll probably never be a world champion, but he has so many other accolades he can fulfill that are even better than that. Because when you can move the merch and you can light crowds on fire, that's what makes this job, that's what everybody does it for that security, for that love of it. And I think Kalisto is going to be one of those phenoms in that area. He's going to be a sensation to the wrestling world when he's really unleashed. So he is my most anticipated 2015 debut.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, John, you want to talk about floors and ceilings? I don't think that my most anticipated 2015 debut really even has a ceiling.
Wow, that's quite a claim. That's quite a claim. Who is it?
Well, I mean, you could say, oh, there are physical limitations, or oh, you could say there are talking and language barrier limitations. But at the end of the day, when you have something that nobody in the history of wrestling has had, not named The Undertaker, I genuinely don't see a ceiling.
Wow.
Finn Balor,
I knew it. I had a sinking feeling, and yes.
when
I
you have an entrance that not only makes people's jaws drop, but gives them the tinglies down their spine, gives them goosebumps up and down their legs and arms, makes them contemplate life for God's sakes, makes people just freak out at the mere sight of it. And then you top that off with the level of showmanship that this guy is capable of displaying. And then the icing on the cake is that he is arguably one of the best in-ring workers in the WWE already, and he's been there for less than 3 months.
Finn Balor has it all, man. I mean, it's funny because with Kalisto, I said his ceiling is more than likely, I'm assuming anyway, he'll probably never be a WWE World Heavyweight Champion, but then again, I should know better. In this business, you never do say never. But with Finn Balor, I do see him being a world champion. I do
Yes.
see him being that WrestleMania main event.
And Finn Balor, to me, what makes him kind of that guy without a ceiling is that sure he's short by WWE standards. He's 5'11". He is bigger than Daniel Bryan, and he is built better than John Cena.
Yeah. And I mean, I know this kind of is building on what you're saying, and this is what you're getting at,
And
but
and I apologize for cutting you off.
oh
You
no,
can
of
get back
course,
to your point. If you compare him to another guy who's kind of short but still really stocky and built, ripped, Adrian Neville,
yeah.
who do you think the women are gonna friggin' flock to between those two guys?
I was just about to say that. He has that look. He has that seductive quality where women will look at him, they'll fall in love with him. And I think, dude,
Dude, if you think that Dean Ambrose has been the king of Tumblr fan fiction so far, wait until Finn Balor hits the main roster.
first of all, that's a glorious soundbite. Second of all, if for no other reason, Finn Balor is going to be a talking point of the wrestling world, his very first WrestleMania entrance is
Yes.
going to just set everyone on fire. Like, Honestly, especially with Undertaker more than likely retired. I mean, WrestleMania 31 is highly speculative for him right now. I think Finn Balor's WrestleMania entrance, and that's putting quite a weight on this man's shoulder, is going to be the standard. Like the entrance everybody looks forward to
Yeah.
year after year.
Well, that's one thing that always made the Undertaker special is even if his matches were never really the best match on the card, and some of them were, but even if they all weren't, or even if not all of them were, the one thing you could always count on from The Undertaker was that his entrance was a spectacle. People would pay just to see The Undertaker enter the ring. They didn't even care about the match because once he does that entrance, he has got you hook, line, and sinker. And Finn Balor's, I'm going to say it, is better.
I agree.
Yeah.
Just absolutely incredible. The theme music we mentioned earlier, he's got the theme of the year right now, and see that's what's see. But at the same time, there is something a little dark about us celebrating Finn Balor this way because we're celebrating him so much this way. How long before he gets tampered with? Because I think he has everything going for him right now. Like everything is there, all the pieces are assembled, and the moment that WWE would disagree and tamper with that, they could ruin something
What are they going
successful.
to tamper with, though? Are they going to try and take away the entrance? That's a money making entrance. I don't care what anybody says. The WWE, even Vince McMahon, as ignorant as he may be, as out of touch as he may be, he sees dollar signs in that entrance. What are they going to take away? The double foot stomp? It's not that great of a finisher anyway. He'll come up with something better.
Yeah. And see, I think you brought up a great point. What I was getting ready to say is kind of like a self-assurance. While I am scared of how WWE may kind of tamper with Finn Balor in their own way, I think he's resilient enough and adaptable enough to make it work. And
Yes.
it brings me back to something that William Regal said. And William Regal was a guy that, if you remember the Ruthless Aggression era and even a little bit of the Attitude era, he was subjected to some ridiculous stuff. But he said, whatever you're given, even if it's the most ridiculous thing on the planet, you take it seriously, you make it work. And one day you're going to come upon something that you enjoy and that also works, and then you've got yourself a career. And even if Finn Balor, I don't even think he will be for the record, but it is a fear in the back of my mind. But even if he was subjected to that, I think Finn Balor has that resolve to say, no, I'm going to make it work because I'm that damn good. And I love that he's your most anticipated 2015 debut because I'll say it right now. While Kalisto may be my most anticipated debut for this upcoming year, I think Finn Balor is my most anticipated debut, period. The guy is just that amazing. So, great job.
Absolutely. All right, guys. It's been, God, it's closing in on 3 hours. This commentary was ridiculous. And we are out of awards to give. So, John, if you have any closing thoughts, get them out of your system now, because other than that, we're going to close this out and we will be back with you guys for NXT tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nothing really to say. Great awards this year, great recipients from top to bottom, and we'll see you again for NXT TWitWoW, guys.
Absolutely. All right, guys. NXT should be amazing this week. I am looking forward to it. Let's do it.
Yeah! Peace!
Break.